Chapter 1173. What are you doing? Hurry up and carve the divine seal for me. A whip lashed out and slammed into the heaven-creating divine king, leaving a deep bloodstain on his body. However, he was no longer called the heaven-creating divine king, but Lord creating heaven and earth. How could he dare to call himself a divine king? In this god realm, a divine king could not be called that. Lord creating heaven and earth clenched his teeth, enduring the dizziness, and continued to carve complex divine seals. His current level had reached the level of a second-grade divine carving master. Logically speaking, he could still join a good force. However, he was too old and was rejected by most forces. After cultivating in the three realms for many years, it was not easy to break through to the divine king realm. However, such an old age was worthless in the second-grade god realm, and he would be neglected. In the first-grade god realm, he would be worshipped instead. This was a huge gap. He had been carving divine seals for a long time, and the consumption was astonishing. Every time he was given only a little time to rest, it was simply killing him. They would not care about Lord creating heaven and earth situation, constantly abusing him and urging him to finish the work. In addition to Lord creating heaven and earth, other divine carving masters were busy here. These were all captured and constantly enslaved. Their cultivations were not high, and thus, even a slightly weaker heaven monarch could easily suppress them. Whoever dared to resist would be killed immediately. Unless they were particularly outstanding, they would probably be treated better or transferred to another place. However, those here were all selected and would not be selected into the preferential treatment category. Overall, they were too old. The divine carving master's level was not bad, but too old would limit their future prospects. From the selection of disciples in the second-grade god realm, one's bone age could not be too high. If it was too old, they would be directly eliminated. After all, first-grade divine carving masters were absolutely common. Even first-grade divine carving masters were relatively common. With a little effort and more time, it was not a problem to become a first-grade divine carving master. The problem was whether they could continue to sprint and reach the third grade or above. If they could not reach this level, they were trash. If their bone age was too high, it meant that there was no hope of breaking through, so naturally, they would not be recruited. Therefore, although many of the disciples in the God Creation Palace were first-grade divine carving masters, they were still young and had enough time to break through. The divine engraving masters that fell here were even more miserable. Which one of them did not have a bone age of more than 10,000 years? This meant that they had been a star venerate for too long, becoming even less valuable. A cultivator's bone age was highly valued. It wasn't that the older one was, the more valuable one was, but the younger one was. After all, in a young state, cultivation would yield twice the results with half the effort, and the speed of comprehension would also increase. At different stages, there would be different judgments. It did not mean that a 10,000-year skeletal age was weak. For example, who would dare say that an Empyrean with a skeletal age of 10,000 years was weak? He would still be a peerless genius. To be able to cultivate to the Empyrean level at the 10,000-year level, if he wasn't a genius, then what was he? When the guards patrolled to the side, Lord of Heaven and Earth's eyes turned cold. He nodded to the person next to him, turned around, and rushed forward quickly, dodging to the corner at an extremely fast speed. In this corner, there were already 4 people hiding here. It was obvious that this was planned. The guards have already gone out to patrol. They will be back in roughly the time it takes for 2 incense sticks to burn. Take advantage of this time to escape. After escaping, everyone will immediately disperse. Don't be in a hurry to escape from Phylong City. Hide in the residential area first. Lord of Heaven and Earth seemed to be the leader. He made a long story short with the other 4 people. When the time comes, they will definitely send people to capture us. The only thing we can do is to hide and wait for the news to die down. Or, we can take advantage of the gap and escape from Phylong City immediately. As soon as he finished speaking, Lord Heaven and Earth Creator waved his hand and all of them rushed forward. Everyone burst out with their fastest speed and flew forward at high speed. When Lord of Heaven and Earth wanted to escape, he was suddenly enveloped by a net, tightly binding him. He could not move at all. Not only Lord of heaven and earth, but the other two people were also bound. Lord of heaven and earth, you. They saw that the one who caught them was not someone else, but their companion, Lord of heaven and earth. He was the one who threw the net and caught all of them. You still want to escape? Lord of heaven and earth said with a sinister smile. Obediently stay here and become the bargaining chip for my freedom. Immediately, the guard sensed the situation and quickly rushed over. He looked at the situation in front of him and said, "What is going on?" "Sir, the three of them wanted to escape. I caught them and handed them over to you," Lord of heaven and earth said respectfully. "You bunch of bastards, you actually want to escape?" The guard shouted in anger after hearing this. After saying that, he suddenly kicked one of them, causing his body to cave in and almost explode. "That's right, I immediately caught them when I knew that they wanted to escape. It is an honor to work for Sir, to work for Phylong City. But they actually want to escape," Lord of heaven and earth said with a faint smile. "I also want to work for Phylong City like you, as one of the supervisors here." Now they know what it means to be a bargaining chip for freedom. They are the bargaining chips. These people are very willing to help them. It is a way to show their loyalty. The guard looked at him from top to bottom and said with smile, "You are quite clever. All right, I will report this to Sir. You should be able to become a guard and be in charge of this area. There is indeed a lack of manpower here, but it seems like your ability is not bad. It should not be a problem for you to be in charge of this area." "Many thanks, Sir." Lord of heaven and earth is very excited. This is the result he wanted. He doesn't want to carve divine seals here all the time. The most important thing is that after carving them, he may not be able to survive. Maybe these people will be cruel and merciless and get rid of them. As for following Lord of heaven and earth's plan to escape, it seems feasible, but the chances of them escaping are very slim. Rather than taking a gamble, it is better to capture the three of them and show their loyalty. This way he can get rid of them. Facts have proven that his method is not wrong. He really made the right bet. Now it is your turn. Since you want to escape, then don't blame me for being cruel and merciless. The guard sneered. A long sword appeared in his hand and dragged the three of them out of the net, preparing to kill the chicken to warn the monkey. "Where do you want to drag them to?" At this time, a figure flew down from the side and blocked the guard's path. Chapter 1174. "Who are you? Do you know where this is?" the guard asked coldly after he calmed down. "Isn't this Phylong City?" The person who arrived here in time was none other than Yi Tianyun. He just came to Phylong City and casually walked around to see if he could find heaven-creating divine king. He happened to see this kind of thing happening here, and after a little investigation, he found out that the person who was caught was heaven-creating divine king. "You know that this is Phylong City, but you dare to fly here at will. I don't know who you are, but trespassing here at will is a capital crime," the guard said angrily. After that, the guard pulled out his sword and tried to stab Yi Tianyun. Yi Tianyun gave him a very bad feeling, so he wanted to kill him as soon as possible to avoid future troubles. Yi Tianyun easily dodged the attack and kicked the guard with his foot. Boom! The guard was kicked out by Yi Tianyun and slammed into the wall in front of him, creating a big hole. Even with the blessing of divine seal, it was still smashed, which shows how amazing the power of his kick is. Ding! Successfully killed Phylong City Guard, obtained 6 compressed EXP, 2 compressed Crazy Point, 1 compressed Sin Point. Obtained Crescent Sword, mid-grade reincarnation level, Crescent Armor, mid-grade reincarnation level, 5 EXP pill. After the data upgrade, the EXP data seems to shrink by more than half, but its usefulness has increased. 1 compressed EXP is equivalent to 100 billion EXP, 1 compressed Crazy Point is equivalent to 10 million Crazy Point, 1 Sin Point is equivalent to 1 million Sin Point. After the compression, the data is no longer so exaggerated, but the essence is the same. It's just not as exaggerated as before, but the effect is the same. Such a loud noise suddenly attracted the attention of the guards on the side, and they flew over. When they saw the intruder, their face turned cold and quickly surrounded the side. Rip! At this time, the solid iron net was torn, and the 3 people who were caught took advantage of this gap to escape outside. One of them stopped and didn't rush to escape. This person is the heaven-creating divine lord. he didn't escape with the other two companions, but chose to stand on the side. Heaven-creating Divine Lord, what are you doing? Hurry up and escape. That's right. Hurry up and escape. It'll be too late if we're late. For the time being, the two of them could not be bothered with Earth Lord Tianyong. Although they were furious, if the guards surrounded them, they would not be able to escape. You guys run first. This friend came down to save us, so I can't run away. Lord Heaven and Earth Creator was still so upright. Compared to the other guards, his cultivation was relatively low, but he did not intend to escape. Instead, he hid at the side and watched the situation. They could only grit their teeth and flee. As they fled, they glared fiercely at Earth Lord Tianyong, already viewing him as their enemy. If they met outside in the future, they would definitely fight him to the death. It wasn't that they were ungrateful or anything, it was just that they felt it was more important to survive. It was true that Yi Tianyun had saved them, but they would only be a burden if they stayed here. There was no way they could fight against the guards. Lord Creation Heaven and Earth was hiding on the side, watching Yi Tianyun's situation. At the same time, he was also paying attention to Earth Lord Tianyong's situation, in case he suffered another sneak attack from Earth Lord Tianyong. I didn't expect you to have a helper. Earth Lord Tianyong had regarded Yi Tianyun as Lord Creation Heaven and Earth's companion, so he sneered. But it will be useless soon. With so many guards surrounding us, it's impossible for us to escape. Is that so? Even if I die, I will drag you down with me. Lord Creation Heaven and Earth sneered. Then you can go to hell now. Earth Lord Tianyong flew into a rage and thrust his sword towards Yi Tianyun. Immediately, Lord Creation Heaven and Earth raised his hand and shouted, "Array, rise." In the next moment, a ray of light suddenly lit up under Earth Lord Tianyong's feet, enveloping him and locking him in place. When did you draw this array here? Earth Lord Tianyong looked at the array under his feet in disbelief. He didn't know when Lord Creation Heaven and Earth carved this array here. You want to escape? How can you not be prepared? Lord Creation Heaven and Earth picked up the long sword that fell to the side and slashed at Earth Lord Tianyong. Earth Lord Tianyong's mouth was wide open, but before he could make a sound, his head had already fallen to the ground. Following that, his body exploded into a mist of blood. When Lord Creation Heaven and Earth made his move, he didn't hesitate at all, nor did he show any mercy. It was a fatal blow. Lord Creation Heaven and Earth was able to dominate the three realms, so how could he not be capable? When it was time to be ruthless, he would never show mercy. When Yi Tianyun saw the situation over here, he smiled. As expected of an expert from the three realms, his ability was definitely not inferior to the experts from the divine realm. At the same time, the surrounding guards had already surrounded them, making it so that not even a drop of water could escape. There were a total of 5 guards, all of whom were at the 4th or 5th level of the Lord of Heaven level. They all rushed over from the side. You actually killed the guards of Firelong City. Do you know where this place is? One of the guards was shocked when he saw his companion being kicked into a meat patty. In the 3 divine realms, there was actually someone who dared to cause trouble in the territory of the Xuanwu Dragon Sect. Wasn't this going against the Xuanwu Dragon Sect? Isn't this the territory of the Xuanwu Dragon Sect? It should be said that this is a place where a bunch of bandits snatch cultivators as they wish to do manual labor. Yi Tianyun said indifferently, I don't have a Buddha's heart. It's fine if you capture others, but if you dare to capture my people, then don't blame me for being impolite. He wasn't worried about the Xuanwu Dragon Sect at all. He was barefooted, so why would he be afraid of these forces? As for being found out that he was from the Heavenly Spring Divine Realm, he wasn't worried either. He believed that the Xuanwu Dragon Sect definitely wouldn't dare to offend the Heavenly Spring Divine Realm unless they wanted to die. How many divine monarchs could there be in a small Xuanwu Dragon Sect? There were dozens of divine monarchs in the Heavenly Spring Divine Realm. If they sent a few elders over, the Xuanwu Dragon Sect would be completely wiped out. Such arrogance. Even if he is a dragon, when he comes to our Xuanwu Dragon Sect, he has to bow down. When the guard sensed that Yi Tianyun only had the cultivation of an earth monarch, he was instantly filled with courage and wasn't worried at all. He didn't know why his comrade had been killed. It was very likely that he had been careless or had been ambushed. In his opinion, it was very likely that he had been ambushed. The most important thing was to investigate clearly which force the intruder was from. In the three divine realms, there were quite a few forces similar to the Xuanwu dragon sect. Hence, it was possible that the intruder was sent by another force to cause trouble. Immediately, the guards surrounded Yi Tianyun, wanting to capture him. Just as they were about to charge over, rays of light suddenly flashed at the side, sealing these guards inside. Upon closer inspection, it was actually an exquisite array formation. It was unknown when it had been set up here, but it could temporarily seal the movements of these guards. From the looks of it, it was unknown how long it had been set up. Otherwise, it wouldn't be able to be used immediately. Chapter 1175. Friend, hurry up and leave. Lord Creation Heaven and Earth walked out and shouted hurriedly, the imprisonment formation I've carved can't last for too long. At most, it can only last for a short while. When Yi Tianyun saw Lord Creation Heaven and Earth walking out, he smiled slightly. He had already seen that there was a formation here. He guessed that it was set up by Lord Creation Heaven and Earth. Sure enough, it was released to catch him off guard. It was not easy to be enslaved here and set up a formation while the guards were patrolling. No wonder Lord Creation Heaven and Earth stayed here to control the formation and imprison the guards so that they could escape together. No hurry. I'll get rid of them now. Yi Tianyun leaped up and turned into a flash of lightning. The next moment, 5 clouds of blood mist exploded in the air. The guards didn't even have a chance to resist before they all exploded. Then, they turned into piles of experience points and rushed over. It was much faster than absorbing the water core. This power. Lord Creation Heaven and Earth sucked in a breath of cold air. He was stunned by Yi Tianyun's actions. Then, he smiled bitterly and said, "It seems that I've done something unnecessary. Even without this formation, you can easily suppress them. I've only heard of an Earth Lord killing the Lord of Heaven, but I've never seen it." He felt that it was unnecessary for him to stay here. There was no need for him to help at all. They could easily kill everything in a second. Then, his expression changed slightly and he said hurriedly, "Then let's leave quickly. If we're late, the Xuanwu dragon sect will definitely not let us go. These guards are the weaker ones in the Xuanwu dragon sect. They have stronger existences." But after saying this, he remembered Yi Tianyun's words and turned to look at him. "By the way, didn't you say that you're looking for a friend? Where's that friend of yours? I'm more familiar with this place. I can bring you to him. As long as it's in Phylong City, I've seen them all. I can bring you to him immediately." Yi Tianyun smiled and said, "You're the person I'm looking for." "Looking for me?" Lord Creation Heaven and Earth was shocked. He pointed to himself and said, "I'm the person you're looking for? No way, I don't even know you. This is definitely the first time we've met. This is naturally the first time we've met, but according to the ceremony, I can be considered half a disciple of yours." Yi Tianyun looked at the Heaven and Earth Creator. Even if the Heaven and Earth Creator came out, his character would not change. He would not be tortured into a villain by this cruel world. To be able to protect the experts of the 3 realms, to be able to sacrifice himself for others, his breadth of mind had not changed. Half a disciple? Lord of Creation Heaven and Earth laughed. He waved his hand and said, "How is this possible? Your cultivation is much stronger than mine. I'm just a 2nd refinement Earth Monarch. Looking at your appearance, you are at least a 7th or 8th refinement Earth Monarch. Otherwise, how could you kill these guards so easily?" 3 realms, Yi Tianyun said softly. "The 3 realms." Lord Heaven and Earth Creator jumped up and looked at him in shock. You came from the 3 realms?" "Yes, I've come from the 3 dimensions. To be more precise, I've come to look for all of you. The guardian of the 3 realms." Yi Tianyun laughed. This. Lord of Creation Heaven and Earth Creator still felt that it was very unbelievable. How could he not know the situation of the 3 realms? How could there be such a heaven-defying existence? Yi Tianyun grabbed him, stepped on his feet, and flew out of the planet, easily escaping from this place. After breaking through to the 10th refinement Earth Monarch, he had the strength of the Lord of Heaven. His speed was even more amazing. Otherwise, he would not be able to kill them so easily. Let's talk while we save the King of the Heavens. He can be considered as my ancestor. Yi Tianyun looked at the Lord of Creation Heaven's dumbfounded expression and felt that it was very funny. The legendary figure of the past showed such an expression when he saw him. You are the descendant of the King of the Heavens. This is incredible. Lord of Creation Heaven and Earth Creator was shocked again. He really could not calm down. The impact of all this was too great for him. What's the situation with you? After so long, don't you plan to go back to the three realms to have a look? Yi Tianyun asked. Of course, why don't we go back? Before coming to the second grade divine realm, we planned to go back to the three realms to have a look. After all, we have not dealt with the evil spirit race. Who knew that when we went back, we would find that the three realms had disappeared? I thought that the three realms had been destroyed, so the three of us were very depressed. Lord of Creation Heaven and Earth Creator shook his head and looked at Yi Tianyun excitedly. I wonder what's the situation in the three realms now? You must know. The three realms has been moved. If not, it would have been destroyed by the evil spirit race a long time ago. Yi Tianyun smiled. So don't worry, the three realms is still fine. There are no problems. When I bring you back next time, many people in the three realms miss you very much. After all, you have contributed a lot to the three realms. Is that so? Lord of Creation Heaven and Earth Creator seemed to remember the situation in the three realms and said happily. But the three realms is still here. It seems that you have solved the problem of the evil spirit race. We have been cultivating here for too long. We never thought that a year in the divine realm would have passed several years in the Fan Yu. Staying in the divine realm for many years, it is difficult to move forward here. There are too few resources. Our talent is too low, so it is extremely difficult to improve. It was not easy for us to stand firm in the first grade divine realm, but the gap is still too big. Lord of Creation Heaven and Earth Creator sighed deeply, feeling as if he had encountered a major setback. They stood at the peak in the Fan Yu, but coming here, they were nothing. How could they not feel frustrated? Yi Tianyun nodded. He knew that this would be the reason. They were well aware that their cultivation was too low, so they had to properly cultivate in the divine realm. By the time they succeeded in their cultivation and prepared to return, 1,000 years would have passed in the mortal realm, or even 10,000 years. This was the terror of the mortal realm. No, you just lack resources. Yi Tianyun patted Lord of Creation Heaven and Earth Creator's shoulder and said in a deep voice. Now, let's go and save people and solve this matter first. Lord of Creation Heaven and Earth Creator said in a deep voice. They have been captured and enslaved in different places. Lord of Creation Heaven and Earth Creator should have been captured to forge weapons. Lord of Creation Heaven and Earth Creator's forging skills are very good, otherwise, we would have been killed. Yi Tianyun's eyes were cold. Don't worry, I will make them pay the price. He felt restless in his heart. He had long wanted to start a massacre. If there was any accident, he would not mind killing them. Yes, we all have a grudge. As long as someone comes to invade us, we will fight them even if we have to sacrifice our lives. Lord of Creation Heaven and Earth Creator's eyes were filled with determination. He would never let any of the invaders go. Chapter 1176. Yi Tianyun brought Lord Creating Heaven and Earth to where Lord Feng Tianyun was. It wasn't far from here. In fact, it was another city called Churning City. Churning City was more mature and didn't need so many God-inscribing masters to carve God seals on it. Instead, they needed to constantly forge weapons to strengthen the guards. However, since it was the territory of the Xuanwu dragon sect, the treatment wouldn't be much better than Lord Creating Heaven and Earth. On the way, Yi Tianyun and Lord Creating Heaven and Earth chatted a lot about the current situation of the three realms and their encounters in the divine realm. When they came to the divine realm, they didn't stop thinking about the three realms. Therefore, they kept cultivating with all their might. They wanted to improve their cultivation so that they could return to the three realms to suppress the evil spirit race. In their opinion, they had to at least break through to the Earth Monarch level before they could go back to deal with the evil spirit race. Therefore, They all broke through to the Earth Monarch level here. The highest level was the second refinement Earth Monarch level. They were delayed on their way back. When they returned, they found that the 3 realms were gone. This made them very sad. They had calculated the time, but the time difference was too terrifying. When they returned, they found that thousands of years had passed. They thought that the evil spirit race destroyed it. They didn't expect it to be moved by Yi Tianyun. Churning City is in front. The security here is stricter than Filong City. There are more guards. It can be said to be an important stronghold of the Xuanwu Dragon sect. There are many elders in there. Therefore, we have to be very careful when we sneak in. Before he finished his sentence, he rushed down, completely ignoring Lord Creating Heaven and Earth's advice. What elders? What guards? They are all *T. Whoever dares to stop me, I will kill them. The most important thing was that he saw a shocking scene. It would be too late if he was any slower. At the same time, Lord Feng Tianyun was forging weapons below. There were cultivators in the same situation as him. They were all forging weapons. Fortunately, he had a furnace to supply him with. If he had to constantly release flames, he wouldn't be able to forge many weapons even if he burned himself to death. Even so, his condition wasn't good. There were injuries all over his body, and there were bloodstains that hadn't dried yet. This proved that he had been beaten many times. Why don't you try running again if you can? The guard at the side looked at Feng Tiandi-jun coldly, then he looked at the other trembling cultivators and said coldly, if it weren't for the fact that you all still have some use, you would have been killed by us long ago. How could you have survived? You should feel honored to be able to work for our Xianlong Dragon sect. I didn't expect you to choose to run away. I'll give you one last chance. If you still try to escape, I'll kill you without mercy. If you sincerely work for us, we will spare your lives. The Xuanwu Dragon sect isn't so cruel and cold-blooded. The guard's words were truly laughable. Even if he wasn't a cold-blooded and cruel person, he was still an extremely domineering existence. Feng Tiandi-jun's eyes were filled with killing intent. He clenched his fists so tightly that blood was already dripping down his elbows and dripping onto the ground. His body trembled slightly, not because he couldn't stand steadily, but because he was too angry. He hated himself for not being strong enough and hated the Xuanwu Dragon sect for being so inhumane. Capturing people was worse than beasts, enslaving them all the time without giving them a chance to rest. Do you think I don't know the situation? Feng Tiandi-jun laughed coldly. After you're done using us, you will kill us without hesitation to prevent any future troubles. I've already eavesdropped on you. From the moment we were captured, we already had no chance of survival. Everyone, don't listen to these fellows' orders. Escape with me. If we continue to stay here, we will only turn into charcoal for the furnace. Feng Tiandi-jun turned his head and roared. He waved the furnace in front of him, turning it into a huge fireball and charging over. He wouldn't sit still and wait for death. He also knew what they were thinking in advance, which was why he kept choosing to escape. Be it now or before, he didn't give up on the chance to escape. Now, he wanted everyone to escape with him. If he was alone, it was basically impossible for him to escape. Most importantly, this was a situation where they would definitely die. If they didn't escape, they would lose their value and die. Don't listen to his nonsense. The guard angrily slashed his sword and cut the furnace into 2. He was shocked and furious. Our Xuanwu Dragon sect isn't so cruel. Don't listen to his nonsense. As long as you sincerely work for the Xuanwu Dragon sect, not only will you survive, but we will also give you benefit. These guards were shocked and furious. They didn't expect Feng Tiandi-jun to hear their words. This was unexpected. They didn't want the cultivators here to completely rebel. If that happened, they wouldn't be able to complete their mission. The cultivators who originally believed Feng Tiandi-jun's words calmed down a little when they heard the guard's words. They were a little hesitant. They didn't know what to choose. Were they really going to fight their way out? They are the ones who are talking nonsense. Rather than being tortured to death, why don't we fight our way out? At the very least, we will drag one of them down with us. Feng Tiandi-jun roared and threw the furnace out again. However, His cultivation was too low. Very quickly, the guard rushed over and slashed at him with his sword. A cold light flashed. Feng Tiandi Jun hurriedly dodged to the back, but he was still too slow. His body was immediately slashed by the sword. Then, with a phut sound, a trail of blood spurted out and dyed a large area of the ground red. Feng Tiandi Jun staggered a few steps back and almost fell to the ground. The sword on his chest made him feel extreme pain. Just a little bit more and his body would have been chopped into two. It seems like the heavens want me dead. Feng Tiandi Jun looked at those cultivators and roared angrily. If you don't resist, you will regret it in the end. What made him feel the most miserable was that these people didn't do anything. It was fine if he died. At least he could awaken this group of people to resist. Who knew that they wouldn't move at all? They were like logs rooted to the ground, watching him die tragically. Those who resist will die even faster. If you resist, you will be going against the Xuanwu Dragon Sec. The guard at the side hurriedly persuaded. Are you willing to listen to him or are you willing to obey us? It's your choice. They could suppress these cultivators, but if they resisted and killed all of them, it would be troublesome. This was like killing all the commoners. Who would farm and build houses for the emperor? Could it be that those ministers would farm? These divine craftsmen were still very useful at the moment, so they naturally couldn't be killed. However, if all of them rushed over to resist, it would mean that if they didn't kill them, they would be killed. Chapter 1177. Nonsense, trying to sow dissension and inciting everyone to betray us. Looks like if I don't punish you, it will be hard to calm down. The guards closed in on Feng Tiandi Lord and surrounded him. There was no way for him to escape. Plus, he couldn't escape at all. The difference in cultivation level was too big, and he was injured. He was already injured, and now, he was even more injured. He was at his limit. So dissension? Feng Tiandi Lord found it funny. It was your fault for capturing us, but you said it as if you were treating us well. I hate you. I hate myself for not being strong enough to be slaughtered by you. He looked up to the sky and shouted. He felt that it was not worth it. If he had more time, he would definitely be able to break through again. But he didn't have the chance, and he was about to die. It seems like you still have a bit of self-awareness. This is a world where the weak are prey to the strong. If your strength is too weak, then just obediently lie down and do whatever I tell you to do. The guard laughed loudly. Seeing Feng Tianjun's resigned expression, he felt that it was extremely funny. What he found funny was Feng Tiandi Lord's expression of despair. It made him feel very carefree. They liked to see this kind of expression of despair. It made them feel very refreshed. Only this way, they could make an example out of others and make them not dare to betray them. At least I am the master of my own life. Feng Tiandi Lord raised the sword in his hand and stabbed it towards his chest. He couldn't control his freedom now, but at least he could control his own life. Even if he were to die, he should die with dignity. The guard's expression changed. They wanted to rush over and stop him. They didn't want Feng Tiandi Lord to commit suicide. They had to torture him to make an example out of him. If Feng Tiandi Lord committed suicide, it wouldn't have the same effect. However, there was a figure that was even faster than them. He stretched out his hand and grabbed the long sword that was thrusting towards him. He firmly held onto the body of the sword and prevented Feng Tiandi Jun from thrusting any further. The one who stopped him from committing suicide was naturally Yi Tianyun, who rushed down quickly. He grabbed the long sword and threw it to the side. You, who are you? You can't even commit suicide. Feng Tiandi Lord was in despair. His weapon had been stolen, and someone had intercepted him. How could he have the chance to kill himself? Don't worry. No one will kill you. They will. Yi Tianyun's eyes turned cold. He turned to the guards and said coldly, "Is it the law of the jungle? I've been hearing these words for a long time. Since that's the case, I'll show you what it means by the law of the jungle." In the next moment, Yi Tianyun's figure flashed and he dashed forward. His speed was so fast that it only left an afterimage in front of everyone's eyes. Many of them were at the level of the Lord of Heaven, but none of them could see Yi Tianyun clearly. Bang, bang, bang. 3 guards were blown to smithereens with a single kick. With the help of the title and the sky-trembling divine art, he directly kicked them into a bloody miss. Using violence to curb violence. If you want to see what is the law of the jungle, then this is it. Ding, successfully killed the guard, got 7 compression EXP, 2 compression crazy point, 1 compression value. Reincarnation sword, jade wheel armor, body protecting divine pill, increases defense by 5 times, lasts for 1 hour. Ding, successfully killed the guard, got 3 guards were easily killed, and a lot of EXP kept coming. Killing the Lord of Heaven gave a lot of EXP. In the blink of an eye, 3 guards were killed, and the rest of the guards were shocked. The intruder is obviously not one of their own, but the enemy's helper. Who are you? Do you know whose territory this is? How dare you be so presumptuous? They still have a little bit of confidence. At the same time, they crushed the jade pendant in their hands and quickly asked for support. Isn't it just the Xianlong Dragon sect? Yi Tianyun said with a sneer, you think you can bully everyone just because you have a good faction? That's what you're talking about. So what? At this time, a Lord of Heaven slowly descended from the sky. His cultivation is at the 8th layer of the Lord of Heaven, obviously an elder. He is much stronger than these guards. Elder. When the guard saw the Lord of Heaven descending, he immediately shouted in excitement, as if he saw his savior. Yi Tianyun turned his eyes and stared at him sharply, just because of this Xianlong Dragon sect. Yes, in the 3 heavens god realm, Xianlong Dragon sect is the biggest. Lord of Heaven looked at him and said sternly, you have committed a crime of death. You dare to break into the territory of Xianlong Dragon sect and kill at will. No matter what background you have, even if you are a dragon, you will have to bow down to this old man. Lord of Heaven stretched out his hand, and the vast heavenly Tao power was displayed by him. The Lord of Heaven can use heavenly Tao power, the difference is the strength. Under his attack, the surroundings began to bloom with dazzling light. Obviously, he wants to use the power of the formation here to suppress Yi Tianyun's power. Feng Tiandi-jun's face changed, and hurriedly shouted, friend, run. Don't worry about me, run. You are my ancestor. Do you think I will run? Yi Tianyun smiled indifferently. While the other party was still in a daze, Yi Tianyun flew up lightly and stepped on the void. Boom. The power of the heavenly way condensed in the void was directly smashed into pieces by the stomp of his foot. PFFF, Lord of Heaven vomited blood as he fell from the sky. The power that he had condensed was easily crushed by Yi Tianyun, causing the power to backfire on him. How dare you be so arrogant in front of me with this trashy heavenly Tao power? The terrifying heavenly Tao power flashed behind Yi Tianyun, and the vague power seemed to be above all the heavenly Tao power. My heavenly Tao power, why can't I use it? Lord of Heaven's face was filled with fear, and his heart sank to the bottom as he felt extreme fear. In the next moment, Yi Tianyun was already in front of him. Step by step, Yi Tianyun walked in front of him and sneered, because you are too weak. As soon as he finished speaking, he stepped on the Lord of Heaven's body with a violent and absolute power. At this time, Lord of Heaven could clearly see the 10 chains that emerged from Yi Tianyun's back, and they were above all the heavenly Tao. 10 refining Earth Lord. Lord of Heaven's voice was hoarse, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. He could not imagine the existence of a 10 refining Earth Lord. Bang! Yi Tianyun stepped on him and turned him into a mist of blood, and he could not be more dead. The other cultivators did not see this scene at all. Only those who were watching from a close distance could see the shadow of the 10 chains. Chapter 1178. It wasn't unheard of for an Earth Lord to kill a Lord of Heaven in a second, but only if the difference in their cultivation wasn't too big. It was entirely possible for an 8th or 9th layer Earth Lord to kill a 2nd or 3rd layer Lord of Heaven in a second. After all, those who broke through to become a Lord of Heaven could become a 3rd layer Earth Lord. These Earth Lords who broke through to become a Lord of Heaven were worthless. For example, these guards. They were all 3rd or 4th layer Earth Lords who broke through to become a Lord of Heaven. Although they weren't trash, they were definitely not that strong. It was precisely because they weren't that strong that they could only become guards and not elders. Now that an elder was here, he was still killed with a single kick. It was no different from killing an ordinary Lord of Heaven in a second. The disparity between them made them dumbfounded. Especially Feng Tiandi Lord, he didn't know what was going on, especially after hearing Yi Tianyun's words, he didn't understand what was going on. Ancestor, what do you mean? Feng Tiandi couldn't imagine what it meant. He understood the meaning of these two words, but he didn't know how to link them together. According to this, Yi Tianyun was his descendant. This was a little too terrifying, wasn't it? A descendant had far surpassed his ancestors. What else could it mean? It's just what the words mean. Your descendant is too strong, much stronger than the others. At this time, Lord Creation Heaven and Earth flew down. Yi Tianyun's speed was too fast. In the blink of an eye, he came down. Lord Creation Heaven and Earth. Are you all right? Feng Tiandi was pleasantly surprised when he saw Lord Creation Heaven and Earth. I was. Fortunately, your descendant saved me. Otherwise, I would have died. Lord Creation Heaven and Earth patted Feng Tiandi's shoulder and smiled. He is your descendant, the descendant of the three realms. Do you understand now? This. Feng Tiandi smiled bitterly. He still couldn't believe it. Everything happened too suddenly. Then, his eyes lit up. Could it be that the three realms isn't destroyed? Of course not. It was just transferred. Your descendants have come to rescue us. After rescuing us, we will return to the three realms together. Lord Heaven Creator's eyes were filled with joy. Finally, he could return to the three realms. Feng Tiandi Jun raised his head and looked over. Yi Tianyun had already killed all the guards in the surroundings, and he landed on the ground effortlessly. Not to mention being injured, not even a drop of blood could be seen on his body. We can go now. I'm sure ancient underworld situation isn't optimistic either. Yi Tianyun's expression was solemn. The situation had not been good for both times, so the ancient underworld deity king must be in danger as well. Yes, that's what I was thinking. However, the situation of ancient underworld's godly king. No, we don't dare to call ourselves godly kings anymore. We don't know where earthly Lord ancient underworld has been transferred to, Lord Heaven Creator said hurriedly. Don't worry, I know. Yi Tianyun took out the astrolabe which recorded the place where Earth Lord Jiyu Ming was captured in great detail. Unless it had been transferred, it would definitely be here. Immediately, Yi Tianyun brought the two of them and flew towards the location where Earth Lord Jiyu Ming was. Halfway through their journey, two figures rushed over and blocked Yi Tianyun's path. You killed our people and you still want to leave? The two figures were at the level of elders, one stronger than the other. Feng Tiandi Jun and the others who were being dragged forward felt their hearts sink. They did not expect these elders to come so quickly. They saw Yi Tianyun let go of them gently and let them stay aside. His figure flashed and he rushed forward. There was no fancy move, just a simple collision. With the addition of the heaven-trembling divine art and the suppression of the heavenly Tao, how difficult could it be? Don't be so arrogant. The two of them roared angrily and displayed the heavenly Tao in their hands. The heavenly Tao turned into a dense net that shrouded over, trying to catch him. So what if I am arrogant? Yi Tianyun continued to rush forward, smashing the dense net into pieces and suppressing their heavenly Tao. They felt that they could control a lot of the heavenly Tao, but in an instant, they could only control a small portion. While they were still in shock, Yi Tianyun had already arrived in front of them. Each of them punched Yi Tianyun's fist, and with two bang sounds, they turned into two clouds of blood mist. This was the power of the Earth Lord 10 refining. Together with the title of Pinnacle, they did not need to use any martial arts to superimpose their strength by 15 times. This was not counting the superimposition of the evil dragon set. If all of them were superimposed, the power would be instantly explosive. It's done. Let's continue. Yi Tianyun came over calmly and continued to fly the two of them outside. Although they could fly, their speed was a little slow. Moreover, they were both injured and needed to heal. They did not need any elixirs. Just the Jupiter in his body and the longevity set were enough to help them recover quickly. That was why he needed to capture them. He could quickly find the ancient Ming earthly lord and heal his injuries. It was the best of both worlds. The two of them looked at each other. Killing the Lord of Heaven was as easy as drinking water to them. Not to mention resisting in front of the elders, they couldn't even resist the trashy guards. The gap between them was really huge. Is this really my descendant? Lord Feng Tianyun still could not believe it. Heaven sealing divine kingdom. My surname is Yi, and my name is Tianyun. Yi Tianyun smiled. Your descendant, Tianyun, pays his respects to the ancestor. It's a little weird to call you that. Lord Feng Tianyun felt very awkward. He should have been happy about it. However, he did not know how many generations of his descendant had surpassed him so easily. It was a little embarrassing. If he was familiar with Yi Tianyun, it would not be a big deal if Yi Tianyun surpassed him. However, Yi Tianyun suddenly appeared out of nowhere and said that Yi Tianyun was his descendant, and his cultivation was so much higher than him. Yi Tianyun had been out there for so long, yet he was doing worse than his descendant. I can't even accept him calling me senior. Lord Creation Heaven and Earth felt the same way. I'm half his master. What should I say? With such a huge gap in cultivation, anyone would feel a little embarrassed or in disbelief. You don't have to care about this. Cultivation represents status. The three realms can exist for so long because of your contribution. This has nothing to do with cultivation. No matter what, you deserve this respect. Yi Tianyun said respectfully. If it weren't for you, the three realms would have been devoured by the evil spirit race. He could not forget his roots. If it weren't for them, he would have been killed not long after he appeared. They were the ones who brought stability to the three realms. The two of them looked at each other and nodded. It's a little pretentious if you continue to say that. No matter what, your cultivation is higher than ours. You can make a lot of decisions. There will be talented people in every generation. We are inferior to you, so we still have to listen to your instructions. That's an exaggeration. I believe that the two of you are still very experienced. I am definitely not comparable to you. Yi Tianyun saw the two of them and he was in awe. Chapter 1179. On the way to save earthly Lord Jiyu Ming, both of them listened to Yi Tianyun's words. If they had any ideas, they would put them forward. Most of the time, they intended to let Yi Tianyun decide. Yi Tianyun knew what they were thinking. When it came to great contributions, the one with the highest level of cultivation was the main one. Their plans could only be used as a reference. Sometimes, they could not take advantage of their seniority, which would easily cause public anger. They knew this very well, which was why they kept saying that Yi Tianyun would be the main force and be led by him. At the right time, putting forward some ideas was the most correct way. Pointing out what to do was stupid people's way of thinking. Moreover, in their opinion, Yi Tianyun was stronger than them. How could he not be capable if he could make it to this stage? If they kept pointing fingers, it would undoubtedly be looking for trouble for themselves. No one would like that. Yi Tianyun did not say much. Since they had said so, he would act according to his own ideas. In fact, he did not have too many ideas. That was to save people. He was too lazy to think about anything else. No matter how many strong enemies came to intercept him, he would kill them all. Soon, he came to the planet where earthly Lord Jiyu Ming was staying, planet Jiyu Yuan. A planet with a lot of elixirs had a lot of resources, so it was normal for earthly Lord Jiyu Ming to be sent there. Because the three of them had different abilities, they were assigned different areas. If they could be together, it would not be so troublesome. Before entering, Yi Tianyun did not bring them in. He did not know what the situation was like on planet Jiyu Yuan. If he brought them in, it would be extremely troublesome to escape if they encountered any strong enemies. Therefore, placing them outside was undoubtedly the best choice. After settling them, Yi Tianyun quickly flew to planet Jiyu Yuan. As soon as he got close to planet Jiyu Yuan, he saw many guards patrolling on the side. It was obvious that even ordinary cultivators would find it difficult to get in. They would need to be checked layer by layer. It seems that the information travels quite fast. Yi Tianyun saw that these guards were so nervous. There was no doubt that he had caused trouble, and the news had already spread here. Every planet had a communication array, and information could be sent out very quickly. This was very important to the war. Yi Tianyun narrowed his eyes. With a slight shift, he appeared inside planet Jiu Yuan in the next moment, easily passing through the interception point of the guards. To him, these guards were useless. He could deal with them with a single teleportation. If one teleportation couldn't solve the problem, then he would switch to two. After entering planet Jiu Yuan, the guards inside were a lot more relaxed. The main reason was that the guards were intercepting people outside, so there was not much need to do so inside. This meant that the door was blocked. Unless there was someone messing around inside, there was nothing to worry about. If both the inside and the outside were extremely strict, it would undoubtedly waste a lot of manpower. Who would have thought that the troublemakers could easily break into Jiu Yuan planet? After entering, although the security inside was not as tight as the outside, there were still guards patrolling occasionally. But overall, it was still relatively lax. From this, it could be seen that Yi Tianyun's actions had caused the Xuanwu dragon sect to be on their guard. They had probably treated him as another force that had snuck in to cause trouble. The Three Heavens divine domain was extremely chaotic, and many factions viewed each other as enemies. It was normal for them to think that the other side had sent them to cause trouble. This place looks very normal. After entering, Yi Tianyun surveyed the surroundings. It was actually a very normal city with people coming and going. There were many cultivators staying and cultivating here. These cultivators were the most basic. Without these foundations, a faction would undoubtedly fall very quickly. After all, many resources were found by these cultivators. However, these cultivators could be said to be taking the side of the Evil Door. As long as they didn't capture their own people, they didn't mind. They even helped the Xuanwu dragon sect to capture foreign cultivators. Of course, the Xuanwu dragon sect didn't capture just anyone. They only captured capable people, such as divine craftsmen. As they continued to venture deeper, Yi Tianyun soon found the location of Earthly Lord Ji Ming. Compared to the other two, Earthly Lord Ji Ming's situation was undoubtedly much better. He stayed in front of the alchemy furnace and slowly refined elixirs. When the guards weren't paying attention, he would secretly stuff the elixirs into his mouth or hide them. Refining elixirs was completely different from forging weapons. Elixirs could replenish one's energy consumption, but forging weapons and carving divine seals couldn't. They would only continuously deplete one's energy. Refining elixirs was very satisfying. From time to time, he would steal some elixirs that could help him cultivate. Compared to Lord Heaven Creation and Lord Heaven Feng, he was much better. Lord Heaven Creation and Lord Heaven Feng were simply working hard. Apart from refining, they didn't have any rest at all. Earthly Lord Ji Ming cultivated while refining elixirs. He was really quick-witted. It seems like I don't have to worry about Earthly Lord Ji Ming the least. Yi Tianyun shook his head and found it hilarious. Immediately after, his figure flashed and disappeared on the spot. He began to sneak into the royal city in front. After Earthly Lord Ji Ming stole a handful of elixirs, he placed the refined elixirs at the side and let the guards take them away. After the guards left, he continued to steal elixirs. Soon, Yi Tianyun appeared beside him and patted him on the shoulder. Earthly Lord Ji Ming was startled. He quickly turned around and found that it wasn't the guards. "My friend, what's wrong?" "Sure, I'm here to save you. Just leave this place quietly," Yi Tianyun said. "No, I'm not leaving." Earthly Lord Ji Ming's eyes turned cold. "I appreciate your kindness." Yi Tianyun frowned. Could it be that Earthly Lord Ji Ming felt that the environment here was not bad and decided to stay here for a long time? "I'm from the Three Realms. I'm here to save you. Lord Heaven Creation and Lord Heaven Feng are waiting for you outside. Are you going to keep refining elixirs here?" Yi Tianyun quickly added. "From the Three Realms?" Earthly Lord Ji Ming was shocked. He turned to the side of the door and saw that the guards did not come in. He then whispered, "They are both outside. Are they all right? How could they be okay? If I didn't come here, they would have been dead." Yi Tianyun said briefly and explained the situation of the two of them. "Bastard! How dare the elders here lie to me?" Earthly Lord Ji Ming slapped the ground and said angrily, We agreed that if I stayed here to refine elixirs for them, they would let go of Lord Heaven creation and Lord Heaven foam. How dare they go back on their word? There's such a thing. Yi Tianyun squinted his eyes. No wonder earthly Lord Jiyu Ming was unwilling to leave. He had already promised to stay at the Xuanwu Dragon sect to refine elixirs for Lord Heaven creation and Lord Heaven creation to leave. This meant that earthly Lord Jiyu Ming sacrificed his freedom to let them leave safely. Chapter 1180. Could it be that the Xuanwu Dragon sect lied to me? They didn't let them go at all? Earth Lord Jiyu Ming was furious. If that was really the case, he would be completely enraged. He had sacrificed his freedom to work for the Xuanwu Dragon sect so that they could be free. In the end, he had been cheated. One could imagine how he felt. I think so. At least when I found them, they were on the brink of death. They had no choice but to escape by themselves. Otherwise, they would have killed them all after they were used. Yi Tianyun shook his head. It was foolish of him to believe in such a cunning force. The reason why they killed them was because they felt that there was no use in keeping them. As for promoting them and making them their own people, that was too difficult. He had been mistreating them previously. Who knew if they would betray him? The best way was to kill them all. Only the dead wouldn't betray him. On the other hand, Earth Lord Jiyu Ming would treat them better. This was mainly because Earth Lord Jiyu Ming's standards were higher. He was a Tier 3 god alchemist. This was a pretty good standard. How could they not try to keep him? Especially since elixirs consumed the most, a god alchemist status here was undoubtedly rather high. Damn it. Earth Lord Jiyu Ming punched the furnace heavily. The scorching furnace caved in from his punch. The extremely high temperature was burning his fist, but he didn't feel it at all. This action naturally attracted the attention of the guards outside. They rushed in immediately. When they saw Yi Tianyun and Earth Lord Jiyu Ming, they were first stunned. Just as they were about to shout, Yi Tianyun had already charged in front of them. Yi Tianyun grabbed the guard's head and pressed it against the ground. With a loud bang, the guard was pressed against the ground. He couldn't move at all. His movements were restricted and he couldn't move at all. Earth Lord Jiyu Ming looked over in shock. He didn't expect Yi Tianyun to suppress his opponent so easily. If you shout, I don't mind crushing your head. Yi Tianyun warned from the side. The guard shivered. He felt so powerless. He couldn't defend against the attack of the invader. He didn't say anything, which meant that he agreed. Yi Tianyun looked up at Earthly Lord Jiyu Ming and said in a deep voice, "You can ask him now. Ask him about the real situation." Earth Lord Jiyu Ming turned to the guards and said in a deep voice, "Did you promise me that you would let my companions go?" The guard hesitated and glanced at Yi Tianyun. He didn't know if he could speak. He still wanted to live. "Say it. If there's even half a lie, you can forget about your head." Yi Tianyun said in a low voice. I'll tell you, they didn't let your companions go. They were all placed on other planets. As for what happened, I don't know," the guard hurriedly explained. His knowledge was very limited, and it was already good enough that he could say a part of it. There were some that he didn't even know a bit about. "Fine, then go to hell." Yi Tianyun pressed down on the guard, and with a bang, he turned into a bloody mist. He couldn't be more dead. Letting him go. These were all bullshit. He wouldn't show any mercy to the people from the Xuanwu Dragon sect. Damn it, you really lied to me. Earthly Lord Jiyu Ming was shocked and angry. His face turned green and white. It was very ugly. Then escape with me now. We'll settle the score with the Xuanwu Dragon sect later. If Yi Tianyun was alone, he wouldn't be worried. Now that Earthly Lord Jiyu Ming wasn't in a good position to fight, it was better to escape. "No, I can't escape." Earthly Lord Jiyu Ming shook his head, his face full of pain. "You can't escape." Yi Tianyun frowned. "Yes." Earthly Lord Jiyu Ming pulled up his sleeve, and there was a slave mark on it. "The city lord here forced me to make a slave mark. Otherwise, he wouldn't let Lord Feng Tiendi and the others leave. At the same time, I have to listen to the city lord's orders. The order I received is that I can't leave this place until I serve for 10,000 years. His eyes were filled with anger, but he couldn't do anything. The slave mark was here, and he couldn't leave. If Yi Tianyun dragged him away by force, earthly Lord Jiyu Ming would struggle and force his way back here because of the mark. Even if he was knocked unconscious, he could still be taken away. When he woke up, he would keep running back here. This was an order. The slave imprint was so terrifying. As long as it was not removed, it would always be the master of the slave imprint. Until the city lord changed the order to something else, he would continue to obey this order. Damn it! Yi Tianyun was infuriated in his heart. This guy was simply a beast. Forget about the slave oath he made, he didn't even let Feng Tiandi and the others go. Instead, he forced them to work for him. This was a complete violation of his previous promise. It was impossible for the city lord to make an oath. How could he make an oath when their statuses were not equal? Don't even talk about taking revenge on the city lord. I can see that he doesn't even have the slightest bit of combat power. Fury blazed in earthly monarch Jiyu Ming's eyes. Shortly after, he turned cold and shook his head. This is the fate of the weak. If we didn't agree to the oath back then, all of us would be finished. They did not want to die. It was not that they were afraid of death, but if they died, everything would be over. Earthly Lord Jiyu Ming would rather become a slave in exchange for the freedom of the other two. Who knew that the city lord would not keep his promise and go back on his words? Come to think of it, would a robber keep his promise? Looks like there's only one way. Yi Tianyun squinted his eyes. What is it? Earthly Lord Jiyu Ming looked up at him. Kill the city lord and all the oaths will disappear, Yi Tianyun said. You're crazy. Earthly Lord Jiyu Ming quickly said, the city lord here is a Sir God. You're strong, but can you take on a Sir God? Fellow Daoist, thank you for your kindness. I appreciate your kindness, but I can only compromise and pretend that I don't know anything. I originally planned to use the resources here to improve my cultivation. After serving for 10,000 years, I will leave this place. Now it seems that they won't let me go even after 10,000 years. Earthly Lord Jiyu Ming shook his head. I can only improve myself and hope that one day, I will have the power to fight them. These are the elixirs that I've hidden. Since you're here, give them to improve their cultivation. This was the only outcome he could choose. To him, Yi Tianyun's cultivation was not bad. He could kill the Lord of Heaven in an instant. But guards and city lord were two different things. Guards could be everywhere, but there was only one city lord, and he was a Sir God. Yi Tianyun did not accept the elixirs. Instead, he was touched. Even in this desperate situation, he did not forget his two old friends. Chapter 1181. The city lord of Jiyu Yuan planet was a Sir God. This didn't surprise Yi Tianyun at all. Instead, he felt that it was normal. If such a huge planet didn't even have a powerhouse, it would be easily conquered. Not to mention Jiyu Yuan planet, even places like Phylong City would have a powerful city lord. It was just that Yi Tianyun didn't start a conflict, so they didn't fight. It was different now. If he wanted to take Earth Lord Jiyu Ming away, he had to kill the city lord or force the city lord to change his oath. Otherwise, Earth Lord Jiyu Ming wouldn't be able to leave and could only stay here for 10,000 years. After 10,000 years, he didn't know what would happen. He reckoned that the city lord would go back on his word again. Seeing that Yi Tianyun really wanted to fight the city lord, Earth Lord Jiyu Ming was even more anxious. He hurriedly stopped in front of him and said, "Friend, don't be rash. You're quite strong now. If you continue to break through, you'll definitely be able to kill the city lord. There's still a lot of time. As long as I don't make any mistakes, the city lord won't kill me, so there's no need to be so anxious." He didn't want to watch Yi Tianyun throw away his life. It wasn't that he didn't want to escape, but if he didn't have any chance of winning, he would be throwing away his life. "Don't worry, I won't joke around with my life. Wait for me here," Yi Tianyun said, turned and rushed out. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared in front of Earth Lord Jiyu Ming. He didn't even have time to react. Sigh. Earth Lord Jiyu Ming punched the furnace. With a dong sound, the furnace was sent flying by his punch. Flames scattered everywhere and started to burn. He was extremely angry. More importantly, he had been fooled. Now, he could only wait here, which made him look very useless. If he followed along, not only would he not be of any help, but he would also become a burden. As long as the City Lord gave the order, Earth Lord Jiu Ming would immediately turn around and fight with Yi Qianyun. He wouldn't be able to resist at all. At the same time, in the imperial city of Jiu Yuan planet, City Lord Huang Jian looked at the captured divine alchemy masters. They were all kneeling on the ground. Their faces were filled with anger, but now that they were imprisoned, they could not resist at all. I'll give you two choices now. One is to die, and the other is to swear a slave oath and obey my orders for 10,000 years. After 10,000 years, not only will you be given freedom, but you will also be given a lot of resources. If you perform well, I'll give you a high position. Of course, if you don't want anything and want to leave, you're more than welcome. City Lord Huang Jian looked at them with a smile. His face was filled with kindness, as if he was harmless to both humans and animals. After hearing Huang Jian's City Lord's words, some of the people's eyes lit up. They felt that this method was feasible. Being able to join the Xuanwu Dragon sect was not a bad idea. After all, they were all rogue cultivators now. It was indeed possible for them to join a force. However, if they were to become slaves, they would not have any freedom and would be completely restricted. Especially for 10,000 years. That was really too long. Whether or not they could live for 10,000 years was another matter. The cultivators who were captured were all second or third refinement Earth monarchs. Every 1,000 years, they had to pass a heavenly tribulation. If they couldn't withstand it the next time, they would be finished. I can listen to your orders, but I don't want to swear a slave oath. One of them chose to object. If they were branded with a slave oath, they would lose everything. City Lord Huang Jian squinted his eyes and smiled faintly. Didn't you hear what I said just now? There are only two choices. There are no other choices. That person's expression stiffened. He immediately rejected. I'm a divine alchemy master. No matter what, I can't swear a slave oath. I can work for you, but I definitely can't swear a slave oath. Then go and die for me. City Lord Huang Jian waved his hand, and a cold light shot out. This cultivator was blasted into a mist of blood, leaving a small pool of blood on the ground. The cultivators at the side were shocked. A living person was killed in an instant just like that. I wonder if there's anyone else who didn't hear what I said. City Lord Huang Jian revealed a faint smile. My patience is limited. I don't like it when people think for too long. There's nothing wrong with a slave oath. There are a lot of people around me who have sworn slave oaths. Isn't a slave oath the best way to make people believe you? As a divine alchemy master on my side, I've come into contact with many things. If you smuggle some personal goods, wouldn't I be at a disadvantage? If you want me to believe you, you need to swear a slave oath. After swearing it, everything else will be easy. What's yours will be yours. To these new members, the simplest and most violent method was to swear a slave oath. They would answer whatever they were asked and do whatever they were told to do. This would save them a lot of trouble and they wouldn't have to worry about betrayal. Seeing how City Lord Huang Jian killed them without any hesitation, their hearts trembled. They could only grit their teeth and agree. Either they swear a slave oath or they die. There was no other choice. Very quickly, they all chose to swear a slave oath. After all, they could eat and drink well here. All they had to do was listen to orders. After swearing the oath, this group of divine alchemy masters were sent away to concoct pills. After they were sent away, City Lord Huang Jian looked at their backs and sneered. After swearing a slave oath, they still want to leave. What a bunch of idiots. Work hard for me. Even if you die, you have to die here. City Lord Huang Jian naturally wouldn't let them leave. With so many divine alchemy masters, they could keep concocting pills for him and they wouldn't betray him. Where would he find these people? He would definitely squeeze them dry and not let them leave. As expected of bandits. None of them keep their promises. If you don't keep your promise, it has nothing to do with me. However, if you offend my people, then it has something to do with me. A figure slowly walked over from the side. He just walked in from the side door. He didn't try to sneak in or anything like that. He just walked in openly. He was Yi Tianyun. He witnessed the whole process from the outside. As expected of one of the leaders of the bandits, keeping his promise was **T. It was useless to reason with them and keep their promises. He could understand this point. If one wanted to survive in this world, being honest was equivalent to courting death. Although I don't know you, it seems like you have confidence to walk in so confidently. I wonder which faction sent you here. Or, are you the guy who caused trouble in my faction recently? City Lord Huang Jian narrowed his eyes and sized up Yi Tianyun. He wasn't in a hurry to make a move. Instead, he wanted to ask first. However, after sizing up Yi Tianyun for a moment, he realized that he couldn't see through Yi Tianyun's true strength. In a daze, he felt that Yi Tianyun was an Earth monarch. However, he had no idea what level he was at. Chapter 1182. City Lord Huang Jian looked calm and didn't get angry right away. He looked at the captured cultivators with a harmless expression. It was obvious that his disguise was a common occurrence. He looked normal and didn't have any intention of attacking. In fact, the arrays around him were activated and all the escape routes were sealed. He wouldn't let the intruder escape. He wanted to force out the identity of the intruder. Especially now that the intruder had barged into his city. It was a slap to his face. So many guards couldn't stop an intruder, and an Earthlord at that. How could he not feel humiliated? Following that, he became more cautious. If he could come alone, he wouldn't have come if he wasn't confident. You don't need to know that. All you need to know is that I'm here to kill you. Yi Tianyun smiled. He looked as calm and friendly as City Lord Huang Jian. But internally, he was already prepared to attack. He came in from the front instead of a sneak attack. It wasn't that he didn't want to, but it was useless against a God Lord. His reaction and discernment abilities were far beyond the level of the Lord of Heaven. From the detailed data provided by the appraisal eye, he knew how terrifying the other party was. He was only at level 1 God Lord, but his combat power was already over 7 million star power. It was quite terrifying. Yi Tianyun had only broken through to level 10 of the Earthlord cultivation, but he only had 300,000 star power. Compared to City Lord Huang Jian, the difference was more than 20 times. Yi Tianyun's 300,000 star power was stronger than most of the Lord of Heaven. It was basically equivalent to level 4 or 5 of the Lord of Heaven. But against a God Lord, the pressure was multiplied. Of course, he could still accept it. If he wasn't confident, he wouldn't have come. After all, if the difference was too great, he would be courting death. You want to kill me? City Lord Huang Jian sized him up and found it funny. There are at least 8,000 people who want to kill me. You're just an Earthlord. Before he finished his sentence, Yi Tianyun's eyes turned cold and he disappeared on the spot. City Lord Huang Jian's pupils shrunk and he quickly threw a punch behind him. Almost instantly, City Lord Huang Jian's combat power skyrocketed, rushing to 22 million star power points in one go. His arms glowed with a golden light as if it was plated with a layer of gold. Boom! Violent fists collided with fists, and the shocking impact caused him to retreat a few steps. His arm was almost broken. A sense of danger emerged from the depths of his heart. How could an Earthlord's strength reach such a level? Fortunately, his equipment was not bad, and he reacted in time. Otherwise, he would have been blown to smithereens. This power. Huang Jian City Lord's heart sank as he looked at Yi Tianyun in disbelief. No matter how he looked at Yi Tianyun, he felt that Yi Tianyun was only at the level of Earth Monarch. Yi Tianyun's burst of power is naturally not weak. He directly burst out the crazy damage mode, 64 times damage is stacked on top of that. The strength that Yi Tianyun unleashed was naturally not weak. It exploded with a crazy damage mode and 64 times the damage was stacked on top of each other. As expected of a God Lord. The foundation of his combat power is too high. Yi Tianyun's eyes turned cold. He didn't stop and charged forward. The Tianchen divine spear appeared in his hand. He had to admit that this weapon was a little weak. But this was the only one he could use. He had to forge a stronger one for himself next time. Divine Dragon Bloodline, activate. Phoenix Bloodline, activate. Violent Sky Technique, activate. The three abilities were activated at the same time, and his combat power skyrocketed from 23 million to 29 million star power point. The stacked effect of the three abilities was a total of 6 million star power. His combat power once again climbed to a new peak. The Tianchen divine spear in his hand started to vibrate crazily, as if it was going to explode at any time. Yi Tianyun's strength was so strong that the Tianchen divine spear couldn't take it anymore. Imperial Overlord Technique. City Lord Huang Jian roared in anger and displayed a low-rank Heaven's Dao martial art. His entire body glowed with a golden light, as if he was a supreme being releasing his majesty. His aura surged out in all directions, forcing everyone to bow their heads in submission. City Lord Huang Jian was most proud of this inferior-grade Heavenly Dao martial art. It allowed him to become a good city lord in the Xianlong Dragon sect. After performing the Imperial Overlord technique, the shocking martial art caused his combat power to increase rapidly. On top of his original foundation, his strength was stacked 5 times. This caused his overall combat power to jump to over 57 million star power. It seemed like it was only a 5 times increase in strength, which was even worse than the Violent Sky Technique. In fact, if he really used the Violent Sky Technique, it definitely wouldn't be 5 times. At most, it would be 2 times. The stronger one's cultivation, the weaker the effect of previous martial arts. After all, the level of martial arts was there, and the power that could be unleashed was naturally very limited. However, it was already very terrifying to be able to unleash 1 or 2 times the original strength. With the foundation, how could it not be terrifying? It was already very terrifying to be able to unleash this much power. From the original 7 million points of star power to 57 million points of star power, such a leap made one's heart palpitate. This wasn't even the strongest power of the Imperial Overlord technique. If he cultivated it to the later stages, the power would undoubtedly be even more shocking. A mere Earth monarch dares to be so arrogant in front of me, City Lord Huang Jian roared, and a long sword appeared in his hand. He slashed at Yi Tianyun's waist. At the same time, he triggered the violent Heavenly Dao power in the surroundings to gather towards him. Heavenly Dao power? Yi Tianyun sneered and quickly stepped on the void. With a boom, City Lord Huang Jian's combat power was reduced by almost half. He was only left with 37 million star power. This was the power of the Heavenly Dao. Because City Lord Huang Jian's Heavenly Dao power wasn't as overbearing as Yi Tianyun's, he was directly suppressed by the title. However, it wasn't as perverted as suppressing the Lord of Heaven and the Earth Monarch. It could only suppress a small portion. It was a pity that the damage wasn't doubled. After all, the opponent was a divine lord, not the Lord of Heaven or the Earth Monarch. What's going on? My power. City Lord Huang Jian's heart trembled. His originally vast power was suddenly cut in half. How could he not be shocked? He only felt that the Yi Tianyun standing in front of him wasn't that small. Instead, it was like a giant standing in front of him. But when he saw the shadow behind Yi Tianyun, he lost his voice and shouted, 10 Refining Earth Monarch? Chapter 1183. 10th Refinement Earth Lord. City Lord Huang Jian was completely dumbfounded. He had never seen a 10th Refinement Earth Lord before. 9th Refinement Earth Lord was already the limit. This was common sense. But common sense was shattered in front of him. 9th Refinement Earth Lord wasn't the limit. There was still the 10th Refinement Earth Lord. The 10 thick chains behind Yi Tianyun looked like the power of the Heavenly Dao, and they were constantly buffing Yi Tianyun. Even though City Lord Huang Jian had broken through to Divine Lord, his original Heavenly Dao chains didn't disappear. One could still see that there were 6 Heavenly Dao chains. Compared to Yi Tianyun's 10 Heavenly Dao chains, it was simply a pile of trash. This was the suppression of strength. Even if one's cultivation was inferior, the suppression of the essence of energy was different. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Yi Tianyun's eyes flashed. The spear in his hand spun rapidly, turning into a tornado in the air. In this tornado, countless specks of vast starlight appeared. The void above his head continued to pour down the power of stars, enveloping Yi Tianyun's body. Boundless God Art, Starry Sky Suppression. High-grade heavenly Tao martial art was displayed by him. After cultivating for so long, it was finally time to take it out for a walk. When he displayed it, a sky full of stars appeared above his head. Originally, there wasn't a single star in the sky, but now, there were countless stars enveloping him. Each star constantly reinforced him, and with each reinforcement, his combat power soared to a new level. In the end, it directly soared to 25 times combat power. Boom! Yi Tianyun originally had about 30 million star power, but with the addition of more than 12 million star power, it immediately erupted to more than 40 million star power. Even relying on high-grade heavenly Tao martial art, he still couldn't completely surpass the other party's strength. Fortunately, with the suppression of the absolute title, the other party's combat power was greatly reduced. Now, after the eruption of power, he had reached an existence that could crush the other party. This move is for you to repay your debt, bastard. Yi Tianyun turned into a meteor, piercing towards City Lord Huang Jian. The surrounding starry sky continued to descend, suppressing the eruption of power from City Lord Huang Jian. Even if there was a grand formation here, it would be of no use. City Lord Huang Jian naturally wouldn't sit still and wait for his death. He braced himself and charged forward. However, with his current strength, he couldn't compare to Yi Tianyun. No, City Lord Huang Jian let out a blood-curdling scream before he was engulfed by Yi Tianyun, who had turned into a meteor. Accompanied by an extreme explosion, the entire imperial city was lifted up. The guards who had come over were all turned into dust by the power of the stars. They couldn't be more dead. Successfully killed Huang Jian City Lord. Reward, 67 EXP, 5 Crazy Point, 4 SPS. Obtained Martial Arts, Imperial Tyrant Art, Imperial Tyrant Divine Sword, High-Grade Reincarnation Grade, Imperial Tyrant Armor, High-Grade Reincarnation Grade, Imperial Tyrant Divine Pill. Temporarily increases strength by 10 times, Hovering Dragon Sect Map, Rare, Hovering Dragon Sect Key, Rare. After killing Huang Jian City Lord, he received a huge amount of experience. 6 to 7 compressed experience points were equivalent to 7 trillion experience points, which made him exclaim in satisfaction. This doesn't include the EXP of the guards outside, it directly increased his EXP by a lot. If he continues like this, it won't be difficult to break through to the level of Lord of Heaven. A divine emperor was killed by him. If it wasn't for the suppression of the title, even if he had a high-grade heavenly path martial art, he would still be suppressed. After all, in the later stages, Huang Jian City Lord's power has reached more than 50 million star power, which is far beyond the limit of the current Yi Tianyun. Fortunately, he is still in the early stage of Divine Emperor. If he is stronger, the effect of the title will be even weaker. Yi Tianyun shook his head. If Huang Jian City Lord is an 8th refining Earth Lord, then the suppression of the title will be even weaker. At that time, it won't be easy to deal with him. It will take more power to suppress him. Of course, if he can't beat Huang Jian City Lord, then he will run away instead of choosing to stay here. Even if he can't beat Huang Jian City Lord, running away is not a problem. After killing this Huang Jian City Lord, he began to plunder the place, taking away all the valuables in this place. He always plunder, these are all resources. The next time he returns to the 3 realms, he can give them to Shi Xueyun and the rest. After plundering, he quickly went to look for Earth Lord Ji Yuming. Earth Lord Ji Yuming paced back and forth in the alchemy room, his face full of surprise and disbelief, looking at the mark on his arm from time to time. There is no mark on his arm, which means that Huang Jian City Lord has been killed, or else the mark will not disappear. Fortunately, the oath they made wasn't an oath to live and die together. Even if Huang Jian City Lord died, they would die together with him. That would be a tragedy. Earth Lord Ji Yuming, what's wrong? Yi Tianyun walked in and saw him pacing back and forth, he couldn't help but smile. You really did it. Earth Lord Ji Yuming's eyes lit up when he saw him coming in, he rushed over and exclaimed in surprise. What do you think? Yi Tianyun smiled. That's unbelievable, that's a divine lord. You actually killed a divine lord, that's unbelievable. How can there be such a genius in the 3 realms? Could it be that you have been hiding your strength, and you are actually a divine lord? Earth Lord Jiu Ming really couldn't believe that someone could kill someone of a higher level. I am indeed an Earth Monarch, Yi Qianyun said with a smile. This. Earth Lord Jiu Ming's mind went blank and he didn't know what to say. He still couldn't believe it. How could he kill someone of a higher level like that? Don't think too much, the heaven and earth creator and the rest are waiting for us outside. Yi Qianyun gestured for Earth Lord Jiu Ming not to think too much, and quickly flew out with him. At the same time, they had to leave this place as soon as possible to prevent any unforeseen events. The Xianlong Dragon Sect is not a weak force, they have a few divine lords, and this is probably the weakest. If a few divine lords appear, it will be hard for him to deal with them. Immediately, they left this place quickly and gathered with the heaven and earth creator and the rest. After gathering, Yi Qianyun brought them back to the three realms, and they wouldn't continue to stay in the three heavens' divine territory any longer. When they completely left this place, the divine lords from the other planets finally arrived. They had just received the news and rushed over immediately. Seeing that the imperial city in front of them had been blown up, all of their faces turned green. Investigate thoroughly, find out who that guy is. Yes. Go to the Moon Spirit Pavilion and see if we can find out who that guy is. The three experts who appeared were all divine lords, and they represented the highest strength of the Xianlong Dragon Sect. Now that one of their companions had died, how could they calm down? Chapter 1184. When the three divine monarchs of the Xuanwu Dragon Sect arranged for people to investigate the situation, one of them went straight to the Moon Spirit Pavilion to ask for information. The old man was still leisurely fanning himself. Even when the expert rushed in, he still maintained the same expression without any expression. I want to find information about a person. The Lord of Treasure Star City revealed a frightening gaze with a murderous aura. Are you looking for the murderer of City Lord Huangjian? The old man smiled while fanning himself. That's right. The Lord of Treasure Star City was startled. He didn't even say anything and the old man answered for him. There's no information. This person is too mysterious. We don't know his true identity. The old man continued fanning himself and didn't seem to have any intention of getting up. We don't know his true identity. The Lord of Treasure Star City's eyes darkened. Even the Moon Spirit Pavilion can't find any information. It's true that we are collecting information. But if the other party hides his identity, we can't do anything about it. Especially if he comes and goes alone, we won't know his true identity. The old man replied leisurely. The Lord of Treasure Star City frowned. This wasn't the answer he wanted. Then hurry up and collect it for me. The price is negotiable, the Lord of Treasure Star City said in a deep voice. Don't worry, I will tell you after I collect it. The old man fanned himself slowly and closed his eyes as if he was sleeping. The Lord of Treasure Star City snorted coldly and turned to leave. He didn't make things difficult for the old man. After the Lord of Treasure Star City left, the old man opened his eyes slowly and smiled. Interesting. Really interesting. I didn't expect you to have the strength to defeat a divine monarch. Did I make a mistake? You're not an Earth Monarch. This matter is really worthy of celebration. I have to inform the sect master. At the same time, Yi Qianyun had already returned to the three realms with Lord Heaven and Earth Creator and the others. Naturally, he wouldn't fly with the three of them. The speed was too slow. The simplest way was to let them hide in the planets in their bodies. With a teleportation divine stone, they could easily return to the three realms. If they flew back, it would take a few years. It was undoubtedly a waste of time. Three realms. This is the three realms. We are back. When they appeared in the air above the three realms, their hearts were filled with excitement. Sensing such a familiar aura, they couldn't help but be excited. After being outside for so long, he could finally return. Soon after, when they investigated, all of them were shocked. They discovered that the situation inside had undergone an earth-shattering change. There were as many experts as the clouds. It was much better than the situation before they left. Among them, there were dozens of God King experts and star venerates. Compared to the few they had back then, they were much stronger. This change is too big. The three of them turned to look at Yi Qianyun. Without a doubt, It was all thanks to Yi Tianyun that they could become like this. I brought back all the resources I obtained from the outside world for them to use. Yi Tianyun smiled faintly. We are really ashamed of our inferiority. They shook their heads. This was the first time they had returned after so many years. On the other hand, Yi Tianyun had already provided so many resources for the three realms. The three realms had undergone great changes. At least it had the ability to protect itself. There wouldn't be any experts that could pressure the three realms to the point of suffocation. You guys have done very well. If it wasn't for you, the three realms would have been destroyed. Let's go down and take a look. Yi Tianyun smiled and gestured for them to go back and take a look. The three of them nodded. They wanted to go back and see how their descendants were doing. One by one, they returned to their respective regions. As they hadn't returned for a long time, their descendants basically didn't recognize them. However, they still had the corresponding bloodline in their bodies. It was impossible for them to be completely severed. Yi Tianyun also went back and reunited with Shishueyun and the others. They had just left for a short period of time. They returned so quickly. Their separation was really short. After a simple reunion, the three of them returned. They had already heard about Yi Tianyun's previous achievements. They were very shocked. They felt that Yi Tianyun was the true guardian of the three realms. Without them, he could still protect the three realms. The changes are really great. The descendants are basically in decline. All of them shook their heads. Only the Fengtian Divine Kingdom fared slightly better. The other two clans were in a much worse state. Fortunately, with the support of Yi Tianyun, the situation improved greatly. However, it was still not as glorious as before. They could only gradually recover. What are your plans now? Yi Tianyun looked at them and asked. I will stay here temporarily. I don't plan to go to the deity domain. I plan to nurture my descendants here. Yes, I think so too. Nurture your descendants first. Only then will they be able to roam the world in the future. I don't need to nurture any descendants. With Tianyun here, I am really honored as an ancestor. However, even if I don't nurture any descendants, I plan to stay here and rest with you two old fellows. Fengtian Lord was the biggest winner. He was grinning from ear to ear. After confirming, he finally knew that Yi Tianyun was really his descendant. This made him extremely happy. However, they were all tired. They had been running around for too long. At least they had to rest here. Since that's the case, you three seniors should rest here. Yi Tianyun did not say anything else. They had been running around outside for a long time. They were indeed too tired. Don't worry. We will go out very soon. The outside world is indeed more abundant. The three of them looked at each other and smiled. It's not good for us to stay in the three realms all the time. It will erase our fighting spirit. The three of them were only resting here temporarily. They were still full of yearning for the outside world. If they were to stay here forever, there would really be nothing to pursue. Although the outside world was full of danger, they were still full of passion. All right, I will leave the three realms to you to protect. Yi Tianyun smiled. He would not continue to stay here. There were still many things he needed to do. His next goal was to kill his way to the evil spirit race. After fighting with the Divine Lord, he realized that he had the power to fight against a Divine Lord. Since that was the case, he could go to the evil spirit race to seek justice. Previously, he had always been suppressed, but now it was his turn to take the initiative to attack. Of course, he would not go there in this state. Don't forget, in his inventory, there was always an evil spirit race puppet that could allow him to go deep into the enemy without anyone noticing. Chapter 1185. The matter of Lord of Heaven and Earth has been solved. The biggest problem now is to improve his cultivation and then attack the cultivation of the Lord of Heaven. However, there are still a lot of things that need to be improved. Even with 5 heavenly Tao martial arts, it's still not enough to face the heavenly tribulation. The divine monarch level heavenly tribulation is much stronger than the Huangjian city lord. Yi Tianyun compared and felt the gap between the two is not small. It can be said that the heavenly tribulation is a level stronger than the Huangjian city lord. However, it's not much stronger, Just a small level stronger is enough to make him suffer. His title can suppress the Lord of Heaven and even the divine monarch, but it is powerless against the heavenly tribulation. The heavenly tribulation is the representation of the extreme heavenly Tao, so he is still slightly inferior. This title can't be used, so to fight against the heavenly tribulation, he needs to improve in all aspects. If he wants to improve, he needs a lot of crazy points. Harassing the evil spirit race is undoubtedly a very good idea. He immediately teleported back to the three heavens divine realm. He wanted to go to the moon spirit pavilion to ask about the current situation of the evil spirit race. He doesn't know the movement of the evil spirit race, and the location of the evil spirit race, but the moon spirit pavilion should know. Soon, he returned to the moon spirit pavilion. He doesn't need to disguise himself, after all, when he suppressed the Shenlong dragon sect, he didn't use his real face to deal with them. Since the moon spirit pavilion can recognize him, then the Shenlong dragon sect can also find out his origin. In order not to cause any trouble for the heavenly spring divine realm, he naturally chose to hide his identity. This time, there is no need to hide his identity, anyway, there is no conflict. When he returned to the moon spirit pavilion, the old man quickly opened his eyes, a bright light burst out, looking at him from head to toe, as if he wants to see through him. But after looking for a long time, he can still see that the old man has the cultivation of Earth Monarch, not the Lord of Heaven, and not the cultivation of Divine Monarch. This made his eyes full of doubt. It is very unbelievable. I don't know why Senior keeps staring at me. Is there something on my face? Yi Tianyun smiled. City Lord Huang Jian was killed. Was it you? The old man narrowed his eyes and asked. Why do you say that? City Lord Huang Jian has the cultivation of a god monarch while I am merely an earth monarch. How could I possibly kill City Lord Huang Jian? Yi Tianyun smiled faintly. As far as I know, of the three friends you want to take away, one of them has made a slave oath with Huang Jian City Lord. If you want to take it away, either Huang Jian City Lord dies, or Huang Jian City Lord cancels the slave oath. The old man had quite a lot of information. He basically knew everything about this area. If the Moon Spirit Pavilion, which specialized in selling information, did not even have the most basic information, then there was no need for it to exist. Yi Tianyun squinted his eyes. This old man had deduced a lot of things, but he would not admit it. I'm not too sure about that. It just so happened that Huang Jian City Lord offended someone and was killed by his enemy. Yi Tianyun shrugged his shoulders and smiled. In any case, it has nothing to do with me. I'm quite lucky to have encountered this matter. The old man narrowed his eyes and looked at Yi Tianyun. He wanted to see something from Yi Tianyun's expression. However, after looking for a long time, he could not see anything and could only give up. All right then, what information do you want this time? The old man's eyes were still filled with suspicion. He felt that Yi Tianyun was definitely lying. He either did it himself or he had a helper. How could there be such a coincidence in this world? He just happened to save someone and came to his enemy. No matter what, he was not willing to believe it. I want to know the latest news about the evil spirit race and their location. Yi Tianyun asked straightforwardly. Latest news about the evil spirit race? The old man looked him up and down and said in shock. Could it be that the evil spirit race offended you? The evil spirit race is not easy to deal with. They seem to be a grade 2 god realm force, but who knows how many god realms they have colluded with, and they even have many powerful forces. According to the rumors, the evil spirit race might already be a grade 3 god realm, but they are keeping a low profile and did not enter the grade 3 god realm area. The evil spirit race has indeed offended me. Whether it's a grade 2 god realm or a grade 3 god realm, you only need to tell me the news, Yi Tianyun said indifferently. Just tell me the fee, and you don't need to care about the rest. The old man narrowed his eyes and looked at him. He leaned back on the chair and waved his fan slowly. He smiled and said, all right, this can be considered a kind of training. But do you know why the evil spirit race still exists even though everyone wants to kill them? I think it's more because they have the support of some experts. Yi Tianyun said indifferently. That's right. For them to be able to survive for so long and even eradicate those god realms that wanted to exterminate the evil spirit race, They must have a powerful expert supporting them from behind. According to the rumors, they have a grade 4 god realm as their backer. Do you think you can still deal with them? The old man seemed to be very talkative and wanted to chat more with him. A grade 4 god realm as their backer? Yi Tianyun's eyes narrowed. This was a little unexpected. That's right, that's just a rumor. In any case, it's not that easy to deal with them. It's fine if you want to play around. As long as you don't go too deep and hurt the evil spirit race's foundation, they won't take revenge. The prerequisite is that you have to hide your identity well. If you're recognized, I'm afraid you'll implicate the forces you belong to. Yi Tianyun was not a fool. He didn't even dare to show his true face when dealing with the Shenlong dragon sect. If he wanted to show his true face, there was only one possibility, and that was if he had absolute invincible strength. That way, he would have nothing to fear. I understand this point. Yi Tianyun nodded. He definitely wouldn't kill his way over directly. Instead, he would sneak in and see the real situation inside. He wanted to see what exactly was going on with the evil spirit race. The old man flicked his hand, and an astrolabe landed in his palm. He smiled and said, "This is the rough distribution of the evil spirit race. We don't know the details, but it's not that easy to infiltrate. If we casually infiltrate, even our Moon Soul Pavilion will be in trouble." After Yi Tianyun took the astrolabe, he looked at it and immediately saw the distribution of the evil spirit race. They were scattered around Fan Yu, and it looked rather strange. Among them, many existed in grade 2 god realms. It could be said that their distribution was quite extensive. It was already quite good to be able to obtain such resources. May I know how much it costs? Yi Tianyun was very satisfied with this. It was enough to know this. No need, it's free. The old man smiled and said, "You are fated with our sect master. It's a gift to you." "I'm fated with your sect master?" Yi Tianyun asked doubtfully. "That's right. If you continue to break through, you'll have a chance to become a disciple of the same sect. Do you understand?" The old man didn't hide anything. Chapter 1186. Yi Tianyun immediately understood what being in the same sect meant. Currently, he was only a disciple in name under the vast Heavenly Venerate. After becoming a Heavenly Venerate, he would have a few senior brothers. From this, he could learn a lot of information. The sect master behind the Moon Spirit Pavilion was actually a Heavenly Venerate. No wonder the Moon Spirit Pavilion was so arrogant. With a Heavenly Venerate as their backer, how could they not be arrogant? It did not matter if the Moon Spirit Pavilion looked simple and crude. The key was that it was spread across many large regions. Yi Tianyun believed that the Moon Spirit Pavilion definitely had more than one branch. There were many branches. "Looks like I have a cheap senior brother." Yi Tianyun smiled. No wonder the sect master took such good care of him. So this was their relationship. Of course, the prerequisite is that I can break through to that position. Otherwise, I will not be a senior brother. If he did not break through to the Heavenly Venerate, he would always be a disciple in name. Naturally, he would not be considered a fellow disciple. However, he had not broken through yet, so this senior brother took good care of him. He, it is fate that you can become a disciple under the vast Heavenly Venerate. However, everything will depend on your own ability. If you are fated, you will be able to meet the sect master in the future. The old man smiled. The sect master has always been elusive. I have never seen him before. Yi Tianyun was shocked. He had not expected that even the sect master had not seen this powerhouse before. No matter what, please tell senior brother that I thank him for taking care of me. In the future, I hope that I will be fortunate enough to become a true senior brother. Yi Tianyun did not ask any further. He definitely did not have the qualifications to meet the sect master now. "I will definitely pass on your message." The old man smiled. After inquiring about the situation, Yi Tianyun left immediately. He did not stay there for long. After he left, the old man took out a crystal and flicked it into the wall. Then, he continued to lean on the bench and cool himself. There was no difference from before. He was still so relaxed, as if everything had nothing to do with him. After Yi Tianyun left, He flew directly to the evil spirit race's distribution point. He didn't return to the heavenly spring divine domain since he hadn't received any news yet. If there was any urgent news, the token given to him would prompt him. Thus, he didn't need to return to the heavenly spring divine realm. He could directly fly to the evil spirit race's distribution point. Are we finally going to come into direct contact with the evil spirit race? Yi Tianyun squinted his eyes. After so many years, he had finally reached a cultivation that could contend against the evil spirit race. Previously, his cultivation had always been insignificant. Even now, he felt the pressure multiplying. Especially the news he had just received. It was possible that the evil spirit race had a grade 4 god realm backing them. This was too terrifying. Even the Moon Spirit Pavilion could not find out much about their true strength. This was enough to show how powerful the evil spirit race was. Many of the evil spirit race's distribution points were in Fan Yu. He did not immediately go to the divine realm's evil spirit race's forces. The main reason was that Xiao Chen's evil spirit puppet was too low ranked. Up until now, it was only a star venerate. The forces within God's domain were definitely not forces of this level that could infiltrate. Thus, he planned to start from the outside. He wanted to see why the evil spirit race had so many forces in Fan Yu. Using the teleportation divine stone, he quickly arrived outside of Fan Yu. Without hesitation, he flew to the evil spirit race's distribution point. When he was about to arrive, he quickly took out the evil spirit puppet. It looked like it had the pure bloodline of the evil spirit race. If he wasn't the owner of the evil spirit puppet, even he wouldn't be able to tell if it was real or fake. Following that, he entered the evil spirit puppet and flew over openly. This way, he wouldn't have to worry about being discovered by the evil spirit race. As he continued to go deeper, the surroundings were empty. There was almost no life. It wasn't that there was no life here, but that all life had been eradicated. He could see that a great battle had happened on the surrounding planets. Some of the planets were already shattered and looked terrible. It could be said that wherever the evil spirit race went, not even a blade of grass would grow. Yi Tianyun frowned. The evil spirit race was really cruel. They really didn't show the slightest bit of mercy to other races. This area was already too horrible to look at. It was unknown if there were any more normal areas. As he went deeper, the situation inside became worse and worse. It seemed like there was basically nothing normal about it. However, this area was already considered a relatively remote corner, and was still a long way from the god's domain. He didn't know what the evil spirit race was planning to do here, but could it be that it was purely to expand the power of Fan Yu? As he continued to go deeper, he quickly arrived at a distribution point. There was a small city built here. Looking down from above, there weren't many evil spirit races. Instead, there were quite a few cultivators staying below. These cultivators were all imprisoned here to help with the work. On this planet, there were a few starstone veins, so many cultivators were needed to dig them out. Hurry up and dig. The evil spirit race at the side waved his whip and fiercely lashed out, sending the cultivator flying. After the cultivator was sent flying, he vomited blood non-stop. He was already severely injured and could not move. Trash, you can't even move like this. The evil spirit race grabbed the injured cultivator and directly threw him into his huge mouth. Then, he slowly chewed and swallowed. It's really disgusting. If you want to live, then hurry up and work for me. Don't be lazy. The cultivators who were mining kept quiet out of fear. Their bodies trembled and the speed at which they were digging increased a little, but it was only a little bit. Their hands were already covered in blood. Mining consumed a lot of energy, but they didn't have the slightest bit of time to rest. If they wanted to live, they could only continue to dig. Otherwise, they would die. Mother, I can't dig anymore. A child's hands were already dripping with blood. It looked like he had reached his limit. Child, hold on a little longer, we can rest. The eyes of the woman at the side turned red, but she could only do so. Who told them to be so weak that they didn't even have the ability to resist? Those who were forced to work here were all below the Star-Lord level, so a simple Star-Lord was enough to suppress them. If it was a child, his cultivation would be even weaker, but the evil spirit race didn't care if he was a child or not. As long as he was alive, he would have to come and work. You promised not to stop. The evil spirit race lashed out with his whip. The woman's face paled. She quickly hugged her child tightly, preventing the whip from hitting her child. When the cultivators at the side saw this scene, their faces turned pale. They wanted to help, but they didn't dare. They could only close their eyes, as if the woman's back would be torn apart in the next moment. In the next moment, a figure appeared in front of them. He extended his hand and grabbed the whip, firmly fixing it in place and preventing it from moving at all. Chapter 1187. Human. The evil spirit race was shocked. A human suddenly appeared, causing them to feel extremely shocked. Who would have thought that there would be a human cultivator trespassing in their territory? The other evil spirit race members immediately rushed over. There were 10 odd evil spirit race star venerates in total. With so many star venerates, it was more than enough to manage this group of enslaved cultivators. Die. Yi Tianyun's gaze turned cold. He did not say anything as he rushed forward. A beam of silver light appeared before everyone's eyes. In the next moment, the 10 odd evil spirit race star venerates exploded on the spot, turning into a bloody mist, not leaving anything behind. When the many cultivators saw this scene, they felt like they saw hope, a god. A god that saved them. It was an instant kill, and that instant kill was mixed with his anger. The evil spirit race truly lived up to its reputation. They could not stop enslaving any race to do such a thing. However, was the hanging dragon gate not the same? It looked like they did not care about race when doing such a thing, only their conscience. Ding. Successfully killed an evil spirit race member, 2nd stage star venerate. Experience gained. Obtained an evil spirit soul, evil spirit bone, and evil spirit blood. The familiar materials dropped again, allowing Xiao Chen to strengthen the evil spirit puppets. The stronger the evil spirit puppets were, the more shocking the evil spirit race members he killed would be. You are all free now. Quickly leave this place. Take everything here with you. Take whatever you can. Leave as far as you can. Yi Tianyun looked around at the shocked cultivators, indicating for them to flee quickly. This place was safe for now. However, this was only temporary. If more evil spirit race members came, they would face danger. Thud. That woman knelt down and kowtowed continuously. Many thanks, benefactor. Many thanks. The child at the side was stunned at first. Then, he knelt down and kowtowed as well. Many thanks to Big Brother for saving us. Then, all the cultivators knelt down and kowtowed while crying. They finally saw hope. They thought that they would die here for the rest of their lives. Unexpectedly, someone came to save them. Yi Tianyun sighed and looked around. He didn't continue to stay here. He turned around and flew away without saying anything. This was the only thing he could help with. He couldn't help with anything else. As for whether they could escape, that would depend on their own luck. Mother, I will definitely work hard to cultivate like that Big Brother and protect Mother. The little boy clenched his fist as he looked at Yi Tianyun's back with a determined look on his face. I want to kill all of the evil spirit race and eradicate all of them. All of their mentalities had changed, and they would remember the evil spirit race for the rest of their lives. In the future, when their cultivation had a breakthrough, they would definitely join the team to kill the evil spirit race. Many of them had lost their loved ones, and they had no one to rely on. Once they had the ability, they would definitely join the team to kill the evil spirit race. After Yi Tianyun left, he quickly switched to the evil spirit puppet and stuffed it with the materials he obtained from killing before, continuously strengthening it. The evil spirit puppet's level started to soar. As expected of a star venerate level evil spirit race material, the strengthening effect was rather shocking. Soon, it would reach peak star venerate level. If this continued, it would not be difficult to reach the earth venerate level. However, Xiao Chen did not know if this puppet would have to endure the heavenly tribulation. These evil spirit race people deserve to die. Yi Tianyun's gaze was cold as he continued flying forward. As he flew past the various distribution points, he discovered that there were many planets that enslaved cultivators. If they were not mining, they were planting spirit herbs. Their methods were basically the same, extremely cruel. Yi Tianyun did not waste any time, directly flying down and killing. Fortunately, there were not many evil spirit race on these planets. Therefore, they were able to kill them in an instant when they were reporting the news. They did not even have the chance to report the news. Xiao Chen killed crazily along the way, obtaining many evil spirit race materials and saving many people at the same time. Xiao Chen was not a savior. He could only help out in passing, saving as many as he could. Along the way, Xiao Chen discovered that this region was filled with mines. It could be said to be a production faction. The resources they obtained could be used to nurture their subordinates. It seemed that the reason they controlled Fan Yu was not that they could not defeat the divine realm, but that this region was indeed more fertile. Although it was not in the divine realm, it was rather surprising that it could produce starstones. Continue to strengthen. Yi Tianyun stuffed all the evil spirit race materials into the puppet. Just as he finished, he heard a sound. Ding! Evil spirit puppet has successfully leveled up to Earth Venerate. Boom! Following that, a heavenly tribulation began to appear in the sky. It seemed that there was really a heavenly tribulation, and it was not because it was a puppet that there was no heavenly tribulation. This heavenly tribulation is a little strange. He saw that the color of this heavenly tribulation was different from their tribulation. The heavenly tribulation that the evil spirit race faced was actually incomparably black. Black energy surged above, followed by countless black heavenly lightning bolts that were filled with evil energy. This was a completely different energy. It was not like the heavenly tribulation that they had to experience. It was filled with a destructive energy, a kind of bright energy, but this was evil. The evil spirit race is really a little special. The energy of the tribulation is different, and there are actually some changes. It seems that the evil spirit race is a little strange. This heavenly tribulation did not have the slightest meaning to him. He controlled the evil spirit puppet and threw a punch, directly blowing up the heavenly tribulation. Following that, evil energy descended and strengthened the evil spirit puppet's body, further strengthening it. After the strengthening was completed, Yi Tianyun discovered that the evil spirit puppet had greatly improved, much stronger than ordinary cultivators. Especially in terms of physique, it was more than 2 times stronger than ordinary cultivators, which was shocking. No wonder it was a little difficult for him to deal with the evil spirit race. Their foundation was originally rather special, so it was naturally not easy to deal with them. Why does the evil spirit race have such a special energy? Yi Tianyun's eyes flashed. According to the rankings, the evil spirit race bloodline was not at the top, but it had such a strange effect, which made him a little puzzled. No matter what, this allowed him to understand the situation further. It seemed that his choice to infiltrate here was correct. He wanted to see the real inside story of the evil spirit race. Chapter 1188. Evil Moon City, a relatively large evil spirit race city in Fan Yu. It was similar to a city in the imperial capital. In the entire Fan Yu, there were only 3 cities at the level of the evil spirit race. Yi Tianyun was currently heading towards the Evil Moon City, a base where countless evil spirit races were gathered. If a cultivator were to barge in, he would definitely die. Even if he didn't die, he would definitely be captured as a slave and slaughtered at will. When a tall and sturdy figure appeared outside the Evil Moon City, the evil spirit race at the side casually glanced over. When they felt the evil and powerful aura, they couldn't help but reveal respectful gazes. The evil spirit race looked around, but none of the evil spirit race doubted him in the slightest. Some even nodded respectfully at him, expressing their etiquette. However, this evil spirit race was not the real deal, but Yi Tianyun's puppet. Controlling this evil spirit race puppet, he did not suspect anything at all when he came here. There were a lot of evil spirit races coming and going in the surroundings, many times more than the evil spirit races he had encountered when he first came here. After coming here, Yi Tianyun felt that he had truly stepped into the territory of the evil spirit race. There was no force outside at all. The Evil Moon City in front of him was extremely strange. A crimson moon hung high above the Evil Moon City, and an unending stream of energy sprinkled down in all directions. In fact, this was a core, a core filled with an evil aura, a core that possessed a strong dark attribute energy. Not only that, there was a dark attribute core embedded in the depths of the evil moon city, which could strengthen the evil spirit race that stayed here by quite a bit. Even an ordinary divine domain would not be able to provide such a perfect cultivation ground. In fact, the density of the star power in the divine domain mostly depended on the situation of the core. If there were more cores and they continuously released energy, the concentration of star power in the divine domain would naturally not be low. Now that the evil moon city had a core here, there was no need to worry about a lack of energy supply. Especially not just one. There were many cores embedded in the surrounding planets, and there were more than 10 of them here. It was very difficult for ordinary planets to form a core, but they had more than 10 cores here. This reminded him of the time when the evil spirit race was constantly searching for the core. They wanted to move the core over and build this place into an extremely perfect cultivation ground. Due to the large number of cores, they were much more generous than the other gods' domains. It could be said that they were free to absorb without any restrictions. This evil spirit race is really generous. Yi Tianyun's gaze turned cold. Seeing so many cores, it meant that the evil spirit race's plundering was very terrifying. It could be said that they had plundered Fan Yu's core. No wonder he stayed at Fan Yu's place. He kept searching for the core, which was much more leisurely than staying in the divine domain. The key was that there was an abundance of time here. Staying here for several years was equivalent to a year in the divine realm. For others, they could slow down their tribulation transcendence in the divine domain, so they did not dare to casually stay outside the Fan Yu. To the evil spirit race, with the support of so many cores, their cultivation had advanced by leaps and bounds. After stabilizing their cultivation, why would they be afraid of not being able to transcend the tribulation? Immediately, Yi Tianyun understood why most of the factions were placed in Fan Yu. They could produce a large number of experts. They could also make use of the natural time difference to continuously raise their overall strength. No wonder so many deity domains did not dare to casually provoke them. Even if they tore off a piece of their flesh, they did not dare to take revenge and could only swallow their anger. Just the densely packed star venerates here looked very large. Among them, there were an explosive number of holy rulers at the level of Fan Yu. No wonder back then, when they sent people to attack, it was like they did not need money, continuously sending people over. Although there were many star venerates, the number decreased sharply from the Earth Monarch level. That was to say, there was only one Earth Monarch among 10,000 evil spirit race members. There were very few high-level Earth Monarchs. Based on the heavenly tribulation, Xiao Chen felt that the heavenly tribulation was indeed very difficult. It was not that easy to clear. It was also a heavenly tribulation, but it was much stronger than a cultivator's. Correspondingly, after clearing it, the strengthening effect would be greater. There were pros and cons. No wonder the other evil spirit race members were very respectful when they sensed his aura along the way. Just based on his cultivation, his status was definitely not low. This was for Fan Yu. If it was for a deity domain, this cultivation would definitely not be enough. There were very few Earth Monarchs here, but that did not mean that there were none. As there were many of them, there were still quite a lot of them. Among them, there were many Earth Monarchs above the 3rd or 4th refinement. There were very few Earth Monarchs above the 4th or 5th refinement. There was basically no one above the 7th or 8th refinement. Either they were not here, or it was very difficult for the evil spirit race to reach this level. As for those at the level of the Lord of Heaven, they were basically in the depths of Evil Moon City. On the whole, the factions here were considered to be above average among rank 1 deity domains. At a glance, although they were all evil spirit race members, Xiao Chen could tell at a glance that many of them were mixed breeds. They had bred with other races. However, they all looked extremely ferocious. Their entire bodies were pitch black. If they provoked each other, they would not hesitate to start a war. The evil spirit race advocated combat prowess. They did not care about the life and death of their companions. Yi Tianyun flew down, landed outside the evil moon city, and slowly walked in. No one stopped him along the way. He felt like he was returning home. After entering, what greeted his eyes were many evil spirit races. Among them, there were also many cultivators who were imprisoned and branded with slave imprints. They either followed the evil spirit race or served the evil spirit race at the side. They had no dignity at all. It was clearly a city of the evil spirit race, but the number of cultivators in it was no less than half. After capturing so many slaves, not only could they serve themselves, but they could also help with their work, so why not? Thus, it was not surprising that more than half of this place was occupied by cultivators. They all had slave imprints, so there was no need to worry about them rebelling. Trash, hurry up and leave. The evil spirit race beside him suddenly grabbed a cultivator and threw him forward. He rolled a few times on the ground and did not get up again. It seemed like he had fainted. This looks pretty delicious. Let me eat him. The evil spirit race in front grabbed the cultivator and threw him into his mouth, directly swallowing the cultivator. TSK, the taste is not bad. You actually ate my slave. The evil spirit race was furious. He ate as soon as he said he would, not holding back at all. The other party directly threw a few starstones over and said with a smile, "Calm down, isn't it just a slave? This is the fee for you." After receiving the starstone, the evil spirit race did not care about anything. Chapter 1189. Yi Tianyun clenched his fists tightly. It was not that he was overflowing with sympathy, but that if he was unable to protect the three realms back then his family and friends would all be captured and enslaved in this area. It could even be him who was captured and enslaved. If he resisted, there would only be death. Even if he died, he would become their meal. This was a world where the strong preyed on the weak. It was extremely cruel. If one did not have strength, everything would end. He looked around coldly. There was nothing to say about the victor being king and the loser being a bandit. If these cultivators had the upper hand, the result would not have been like this. At least they would not have done such a cruel thing. Most of them would not be filled with rejection. For example, even if they rejected the human race, at least they would not immediately kill them or turn them into slaves. At least in their hearts, they still had a little conscience. The evil spirit race was a relatively inferior race. They were extremely exclusive. As long as it was not the evil spirit race, everyone was either a slave or food. According to the situation of the evil spirit race, the increase in cultivation from swallowing cultivators was not much more than absorbing starstones. It could only be considered a small part. Most of them took pleasure in it as a hobby. Among the cultivators, there were many races that had previously devoured meat, and they had also changed this habit. For example, the giant eagle race or the giant dragon race, they had long since gotten rid of this habit. Even the foreign races would not choose to devour. The evil spirit race deserves to die. Yi Tianyun's gaze was ice-cold. It was not because he had great sympathy for those cultivators, but because he felt extreme disgust when he thought of what the evil spirit race had done to the three realms. Lord, what's wrong? The two evil spirit race in front of him felt Yi Tianyun's gaze and turned their heads to look at him. They could all feel the coldness in Yi Tianyun's eyes. Although it was only a puppet, the gaze it emitted was still very realistic, no different from a living evil spirit race. Yi Tianyun looked at them coldly, and slapped them. With two peng-peng sounds, the two evil spirit races exploded from his palm, turning into a pile of experience and materials. After killing two evil spirit races in front of so many evil spirit races, the surrounding evil spirit races were startled at first, but soon after, they hid a little further away and did not say anything. In the evil spirit race, cultivation was everything. For example, Earth monarchs and above would have no problem casually killing star venerates. Similarly, it was not a problem for a Lord of Heaven to kill an earthly monarch, but there were some that could not be killed. As long as one's cultivation was weaker than his, they would be his subordinates, and he would be able to order them around. This was the way the evil spirit race ruled. It was simple and crude, and there was no need to arrange who was whose subordinate. Those with weak cultivations were all subordinates. If he was in a bad mood, there was nothing wrong with killing his subordinates. Therefore, the evil spirit race watched coldly from the side. They did not say anything, nor were they angry. More importantly, they were gloating. They felt that the two evil spirit races who were killed, for some reason, might have provoked Yi Qianyun. This was what Yi Qianyun felt the most sorrowful. It was truly the law of the jungle, even in his own race, this rule was implemented. Fortunately, he could not kill them as he pleased. It was fine to occasionally kill a few in anger, but if he were to kill them crazily, it would be different. He would definitely be punished. Even if the evil spirit race was in chaos, they would not be able to kill as they pleased. If they were to kill as they pleased without any restrictions, they would probably be finished before they could even take over the other forces. We're free. The slaves discovered that the mark on their hands had disappeared, which meant that the slave oath had disappeared. However, they did not run away. Instead, they came in front of Yi Qianyun and knelt down, pleading, "Lord, please take us in." Their bodies trembled uncontrollably. If they wanted to live, they could only become the slaves of the evil spirit race. This meant that they would become the slaves of the evil spirit race and be under his control. If they did not have the slave imprint, they would be snatched away or swallowed at any moment. The eyes of the surrounding evil spirit race lit up. If Yi Qianyun did not take them in, they would immediately rush over. Make an oath. Yi Qianyun waved his hand, indicating for them to make an oath. They were startled for a moment before nodding their heads. One by one, they began to swear an oath to the evil spirit puppet, not to Yi Qianyun. The evil spirit puppet was equivalent to a living being. The oath they swore to the evil spirit puppet was naturally bound to the evil spirit puppet. However, there was no difference between the two. Yi Qianyun could also control them. When the surrounding evil spirit race saw Yi Qianyun accept these slaves, they all revealed disappointed expressions. They had thought that the Earth Monarch would not be interested in these slaves. The stronger the evil spirit race, the higher the level of slaves they would choose. For example, those with higher cultivation or even more special ones. These were the criteria for choosing slaves. These were all very ordinary cultivators, so there was no point in them coming. Little did they know that the one who was truly controlling the puppet was a cultivator. That was naturally different. Let's go. Yi Qianyun spat out a word as he led the two of them forward. There were more than a dozen of them in total. However, these dozen or so slaves only took up a small portion of the territory. There were hundreds of thousands of slaves here, or even more. It was impossible for him to kill their masters one by one and take them away. This way, he would be surrounded and attacked before he could even take them away. The reason he did this was to make himself look more like an evil spirit race, more like a part of the evil moon city. Before he could take a few steps, a figure floated over and blocked his path. Yi Qianyun looked up and saw a wretched-looking evil spirit race. He rubbed his hands together and laughed. "Master, we are preparing to hold a slave auction over there. I wonder if you are interested. There are many powerful slaves there, and there are also all kinds of races. They are definitely much better than the slaves you have right now." This wretched evil spirit race obviously thought that he lacked slaves, which was why he killed those evil spirit races. Yi Qianyun's eyes narrowed, and without even thinking, he directly replied, "Let's go." Without saying too much, he immediately decided to take a look at the slave auction. From here, he could roughly see the situation of the evil moon city, and even more so, he could see how their invasion was going. "All right, I guarantee that you will be satisfied." The wretched evil spirit race rubbed his palms together and led him towards the auction house. Chapter 1190. Under the lead of the evil spirit race, Yi Qianyun quickly arrived at the slave auction in front of them. This auction was quite large, it was like a castle standing in front of them. Outside the entrance, there were many cultivators wearing very little clothes. The beauties of various races were all smiling and welcoming guests. Just from the facade alone, one could already see the strength of this auction house. With so many beauties welcoming guests, none of their cultivations were lower than the star monarch. Cultivation was not the highlight. The main thing was that the beauties, and the beauties with high cultivation, attracted the interest of the evil spirit race. They did not reject breeding with other races. In any case, they would be domesticated into the savage and violent evil spirit race. As long as the main bloodline had their evil spirit race, it was enough. Just this facade alone was already very tempting. However, Yi Qianyun was expressionless and cold. It could only be said that it was truly pitiful. "Welcome, my lord." The rows of beauties smiled sweetly and bowed deeply to Yi Tianyun, expressing their highest respect. They clearly hated it in their hearts, but they could only force themselves to smile. In addition, under the slave oath, they would do whatever they were told to do. Deacon Shu Ji, who was bringing Yi Tianyun along, slapped one of them on the face, sending him flying. He scolded angrily, "Your smile is so ugly, scram down and continue practicing. The next time you show such an expression, I'll eat you. If it wasn't for the fact that you're a little prettier, you would have died more than 100 times over." The woman who was slapped was not from any race, but from the human race. She was indeed beautiful. Even compared to the beauties of other races, she was not inferior at all. She covered her face and slowly crawled up. Her eyes were filled with resentment as she glared at Deacon Shu Ji and said coldly, "If you have the ability, kill me. Previously, you said that after I became a slave, you would let my clansmen go. Now, my clansmen are all dead, they were all killed by you." Her beautiful eyes were filled with tears. The most terrifying thing was that she wanted to die, but she couldn't. After becoming a slave, she didn't even have the right to die. This was the saddest thing. "Chimph, you want to die? Impossible. If you want to die, then I won't let you. Just stay here and receive guests for the rest of your life." Deacon Shu Ji laughed sinisterly. "I'll take her." Yi Tianyun pointed at her and said calmly, "I'll buy her first." "How much is it?" "Buy her." Deacon Shu Ji was startled and said awkwardly, "Sir, you've seen her personality. Even if you forcefully order her, she won't give you any face." "How much?" Yi Tianyun looked at him coldly. Free. Deacon Shu Ji rubbed his palms and said with a smile, "Take it as a greeting gift for sir. It would be too rude to accept money for a defective product." Immediately, Deacon Shu Ji waved his hand and said, "Come here." The girl stood up and slowly walked over. No matter how hard she struggled, it was useless. The slave oath forced her to do all the things she didn't want to do. After the girl came over, there was a red mark on her face, which didn't fade for the time being. If Deacon Shu Ji had used a bit more force, even her head would have exploded from the slap. The mark on her beautiful face was really unsightly, but it didn't affect her beauty at all. It was just that her beautiful eyes were filled with coldness. She didn't have the slightest intention of pleasing anyone. She wanted nothing more than to anger everyone so that they would kill her and free themselves. What kind of look is that? Deacon Shu Ji was furious. He raised his hand to slap her. Just as he was about to slap her, a hand reached out and stopped him. "She's already my property. How I deal with her is my business." Yi Tianyun said coldly. Yes, sir." Deacon Shu Ji immediately showed a flattering expression. He didn't know why Yi Tianyun would choose this slave, but some people's tastes were different. Who could understand? Immediately, Deacon Shu Ji quickly transferred the slave oath to Yi Tianyun, easily transferring the ownership of the slave to Yi Tianyun. Slaves could be transferred at will, and the same was true for the oath. If it was removed, it would be impossible for her to make the oath again. This girl would definitely commit suicide immediately. She wouldn't make the slightest oath. From her eyes, it could be seen that she wanted nothing more than to die. "Let's go." Yi Tianyun didn't say anything else and signaled Deacon Shu Ji to walk forward. Deacon Shu Ji showed a flattering expression and signaled Yi Tianyun to follow. The girl standing behind him followed along. Even if she was very unwilling, an order was an order, and she couldn't resist. Yi Tianyun glanced at her. He had chosen her for one thing, and that was her absolute hatred for the evil spirit race. The other slaves all had the mentality of living if they could. They had expressions of fear of death. They weren't as determined as she was. In addition, she was a human, which made him choose to accept her. If he nurtured her well, she would definitely become a queen. He had another idea, which was to lead this group of slaves. She had this qualification, and no one else could do it. This evil moon city would definitely be destroyed. He planned to completely suck dry the core of this place, move it away, or destroy this place. No matter what, many slaves would definitely be liberated. There was no lack of cowards among them, But there was also no lack of people who were filled with anger and wanted to take revenge on the evil spirit race. She was a very good candidate. Whether it was in terms of talent or personality, she could satisfy the conditions of his choice. When they entered the auction hall, it was filled with the noise of the evil spirit race. There was no lack of Earth Monarch-level evil spirit races among them. They were very interested in this place. As for the Lord of Heaven, there wasn't a single one. They didn't come to participate in this kind of auction. It should be said that they were all in the divine realm, so they naturally wouldn't stay here. No matter what, the divine realm was better than this place, so they would naturally stay in the divine realm. This is your token. Please wait in the VIP room. If there's anything you need, just call the slaves outside. They will satisfy you. After Deacon Shu Ji finished speaking, she turned around and left to continue soliciting customers. To him, the real investors were definitely at the Earth Monarch level or above. The highest level here was the Earth Monarch, so naturally, the more he could pull, the better. After he entered the VIP room, the young girl stood at the side like a bamboo pole, unwilling to say a single word. She felt that this was her fate, and there was no way to change it until she died. As for the other slaves, they were allowed to wait outside and not allowed to enter with them. In the next moment, Yi Qianyun waved his hand and she flew into the evil spirit race's space. Chapter 1191. When the young girl saw Yi Qianyun, she was completely dumbfounded. She never would have thought that there would be a human in the inner space of the evil spirit race. Strange, isn't it? Yi Qianyun pointed his finger, indicating for her to sit down. The young girl did not sit down. Instead, she stood at the side and looked at him. Her beautiful eyes were filled with doubt, and she did not know what to say. The evil spirit race outside is my puppet. In fact, it's a puppet that I made. It looks real, but in fact, it's not real. It's just a puppet. Yi Qianyun laughed blandly. This time, the reason why I snuck in all the way here was to gather information. Other than exterminating the evil spirit race as much as possible, I also wanted to save more slaves. The young girl's eyes lit up as she said excitedly, "So you're saying that you're here to help us? What else do you think? Do you think I will cooperate with the evil spirit race?" Yi Qianyun laughed lightly. That won't happen. The young girl did not think that Yi Qianyun would be able to cooperate with the evil spirit race. It should be said that it was basically impossible for any cultivator to cooperate with the evil spirit race. The evil spirit race had never liked to cooperate with others, especially with the human race. To them, they were all food, their slaves. Would they cooperate with slaves or food? This was simply a joke. Of course, there were some things that she did not know about. At least for now, it seemed that there was no possibility of a cooperative relationship. The reason I let you in is very simple. There will be an auction later, and I will spend a lot of money to buy some slaves. See who can be your assistant, or who you know and trust. Let me buy them all, Yi Qianyun said. Buy it? The young girl asked doubtfully, didn't you say that you want to exterminate the evil spirit race? Aren't you just giving money to those bastards? We'll definitely destroy them, but it's not fun to alert them so quickly. Moreover, even I can't completely destroy them. I need some external support. Yi Qianyun squinted his eyes and looked at her with a faint smile. To him, he would first give out a sum of money and then take it back with interest. External force? Could it be that you have companions? The girl asked in surprise. Of course. Aren't you my companion? Yi Qianyun pointed at her and smiled. I'm your companion? The young girl looked at him in shock. She felt that it was inconceivable. What kind of ability did she have? That's right. Otherwise, why would I let you choose your companions? It's to assist you. When the time comes, you will lead them out and kill as many evil spirit races as you can. You will also be in charge of saving even more slaves. Do you have the confidence to do so? Yi Qianyun looked at her and smiled. The sudden heavy responsibility stunned her. She didn't expect it to be such a difficult task. After a moment of hesitation, she nodded heavily and said, yes, I have a certain level of attainment in leading troops, and I can also apply it. As long as you trust me, I can definitely do it well. If I didn't trust you, I wouldn't have let you in. I wouldn't have said so much to you. Yi Qianyun smiled. According to the data displayed by Appraisal Eye, her comprehensive ability is quite good, she has no problem in leading troops to war, and her talent is not a problem. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been chosen as a slave. As long as a slave wasn't a vase, it would be more valuable if he could help his master. Oh right, what's your name? Yi Qianyun asked. After a moment of silence, she shook her head and said, my clansmen have long been killed, and I'm the only one left. I only have one thought right now, and that is to kill all the evil spirit race. Either kill all the evil spirit races, or die. You gave me this power, so you are my master. She knelt down, her beautiful eyes filled with heroic spirit. It was obvious that she was a divine general back then. However, to have fallen to such a state, it really made one sigh endlessly. Therefore, Master, please give me a code name. I will use this code name to fight for Master for the rest of my life. Her eyes, which were originally filled with hatred and despair, were suddenly filled with hope and fighting spirit. Her greatest wish now was revenge. I hope that you can lead all the slaves and rule over all the slaves to fight an intense battle for revenge. Therefore, I will give you the name Vengeance Goddess. Yi Qianyun said in a deep voice, lead all the Avengers, like a god of death, and harvest the lives of the evil spirit race. Vengeance Goddess. The corners of her mouth curled up slightly, as if she liked the name very much. Thank you, Master, for giving me this name. No, this is your code name. As for your name, it's better to use your own. You can't let hatred completely blind your heart. You must guard your heart and live well. Yi Qianyun shook his head and said, I think your dead relatives don't want you to live in hatred forever. Revenge is fine, but if you keep immersing yourself in it, then even if you take revenge, there's no point. Guard my heart and live well. Her eyes were red. She had long lost the will to live. After thinking for a while, she cupped her fists and said in a deep voice, I will obey Master's orders. This servant is Yu Ming, codename Vengeance Goddess. Ding. Successfully subdued Divine General Yu Ming. You will receive the blessing of 10,000 commander points, can lead 10,000 people, maintain absolute loyalty, and will increase as your cultivation increases. When you lead your subordinates to kill enemies, you will receive an additional 5 times the experience. After subduing Divine General Yu Ming, he really received quite a surprise. He was really a famous general who could help him expand his territory. Okay. Yi Qianyun stood up and came to Yu Ming's side. He stretched out his hand and lightly tapped on her brows. He said softly, relax your body. Everything must be relaxed. Yu Ming was stunned, but she did not think much of it. Anyway, her life now belonged to Yi Qianyun, so there was no need to struggle. Immediately after, she felt her cultivation soar crazily. Her cultivation leaped continuously as if she had gone crazy. I broke through to the 3rd level of Star Venerate, broke through to the 4th level of Star Venerate, broke through to the 5th level of Star Venerate. Finally, she charged to the peak of Star Venerate in one go. She was just one step away from becoming an Earth Monarch. This speed shocked her. She knew how terrifying the path of cultivation was. However, Yi Qianyun just tapped on her, and she broke through in a frenzy. You just broke through. Stabilize your cultivation properly. As a commander, your cultivation cannot be too low. Otherwise, there will be no deterrent effect. After stabilizing your cultivation, breaking through to the Earth Monarch realm will not be difficult at all. Yi Qianyun glanced at her detailed data. Her commander points directly soared to 100,000. She could lead 100,000 people. This meant that she could lead 100,000 slaves and have them listen to her completely. That was enough. Many thanks to Master for giving me a new lease on life. Yu Ming was extremely excited. To her, Yi Qianyun was simply a god. She had never seen anyone who could do this. Chapter 1192. The Astral Overlord could summon astral sea demons, but it could not summon any astral sea demon at will, especially if it was too far away. At most, it could only summon the nearby astral sea demons. The astral sea demons were everywhere. Some places had them, and some did not. At that time, he would try to get the Astral Overlord to summon as many astral sea demons as he could. If he could summon a lot of them, it would be a pleasant surprise. At that time, the difficulty of exterminating the evil spirit race in this area would be greatly reduced. Especially now that the strongest cultivation was only the Lord of Heaven. There was not a single divine lord here, which meant that after he erupted, he could easily control this place. Soon, the auction was about to begin. Yi Tianyun quickly teleported Mingyu out of the auction room and sat beside her. From here, he could see the entire audience, waiting for the auction to begin. All of them wanted to choose better slaves to bring back. Some wanted to choose good alchemists or blacksmiths to help them. These were the most valuable ones. Those without any abilities were the cheapest and least valuable ones. However, there was no need to auction them at the auction. They could be bought outside. The slaves that Yi Tianyun had casually subdued were the most ordinary ones. They did not have any abilities and only had decent cultivation. Although their cultivations were pretty good, they would not be of any help to Xiao Chen. Their cultivations were too low, all below the star venerate realm. However, even star venerates were not very useful to him. Their cultivation was still too low. They were already very good in Fanyu, so their prices were still considerable. Ring, ring, ring. A sound like a wind chime rang out from behind the stage. The auction has begun. Yu Ming's gaze was cold. She remembered these sounds very clearly. Only when these sounds started would it mean that the auction had officially begun. Indeed, the red cloth in front of the stage was quickly pulled away. Soon, 2 iron cages were pushed forward. There were twins locked inside. They were extremely beautiful, and their skin was as smooth and white as cream. They were not humans but demon foxes. They exuded a foxy aura and looked very alluring. The moment they appeared, it immediately ignited the fanaticism of all the male evil spirit races. It could be said that the auction had just begun, and everyone's enthusiasm was immediately ignited. Welcome to the auction this time. There will definitely be a large number of new goods waiting for you to choose from. Deacon Shu Ji smiled as he walked up from the side. Not only was he a solicitor, but he was also a host. He really had many different identities. Cut the nonsense. The first auction is this pair of twins from the Demon Fox clan. It was absolutely untouched. In addition to their beautiful appearance, they also have many special service abilities. As for the Demon Fox clan, he smiled wretchedly. To put it bluntly, the twins didn't have much ability. They were just there to make men happy. Usually, it was either to please himself or to welcome guests. Both were good choices. Many of the evil spirit races revealed vulgar smiles. They all understood what was going on in their hearts, and all of the evil spirit races had a tacit understanding. The starting price is 500 star stones, and each increment is 10 star stones. By the way, I would like to add one more thing. All the women here are untouched. You are welcome to choose. If he touched it, it would be worthless. It should be said that the price would be reduced by a large margin, but this was not what they saw. This was just like the beauties outside. They were all untouched, and if anyone took a fancy to them, they would have to pay a high price to buy them. They hadn't even entered the auction yet, and they already had to spend money to buy them. It had to be said that they really had a lot of ideas. 1,000 star stones. Yi Tianyun raised his hand and directly offered an extremely high price. 1,000 star stones were thrown down, and those evil spirit races who were eager to try immediately felt as if a bucket of cold water had been poured over them, completely cooling down their burning hearts. 1,000 star stones was not a lot, but the problem was that it would be too much of a loss to buy this pair of twins who only knew how to charm. This was equivalent to buying 2 vases. They could only look at them a few more times, and their practicality was too poor. Master, Yu Ming's gaze was complicated. She did not want to buy this pair of demon foxes. It would not be of any help to her, and would instead easily disturb the army's morale. The demon fox clan was born with charm. How could it not disturb the army's morale? What? Do you think I like women? Yi Tianyun said with a smile. This servant doesn't dare. Yu Ming lowered her head, not daring to look at Yi Tianyun in the eye. It was obvious that she had guessed so. You're right. That's exactly what I need. Yi Tianyun knocked on the table and said with a smile, It's to let them think that I'm a lecherous person, and conceal my identity a little. At the same time, they know that I'm a rich and imposing fellow, so don't fight with me. Yu Ming's eyes lit up, she raised her eyes and said in pleasant surprise, "This way, we can deceive the enemy and make them think that Master is lecherous and doesn't have too many thoughts. I'm very sorry, this servant doesn't have as much foresight as Master." "It's fine, it's just a small trick." Yi Tianyun laughed, and sure enough, the surrounding evil spirit races all shook their heads, thinking that Yi Tianyun was crazy, spending so much money on 2 demon foxes. Crazy, crazy. 1,000 star stones to buy 2 demon foxes, he's simply an idiot. He's just rich and thinks that these twins are fun, right? What a waste. I wonder who the person in this VIP room is, to be so lecherous. They all shook their heads, and the effect was immediately revealed. Buying this pair of demon foxes didn't mean that he was lecherous, but spending a large sum of money to buy them was different. 1,000 star stones. Is there anyone else who wants to increase the price? Administrator Shu Ji looked around with a smile, and even looked at Yi Tianyun's side, her eyes filled with surprise. It seemed that she had really found a gold mine, and it was the kind of person who was stupid and had a lot of money. Logically speaking, this pair of demon foxes should be able to be bought for less than 700 star stones, but now it was 1,000 star stones. How could it not be that this person was stupid and had a lot of money? They had made a good plan, but Yi Tianyun's plan was even better. When the time came, wouldn't everything return to his pocket? Since no one increases the price, then this pair of demon foxes belongs to that esteemed guest. Administrator Shu Ji smiled happily and pointed to the VIP room that Yi Tianyun was in. Very quickly, after the pair of demon foxes were sent down, another iron cage was pushed up, and inside it was a group of handsome men. This would immediately attract the attention of many female evil spirit races. They started to cheer crazily, just like this. It seemed that the hobbies of the evil spirit races were similar. Men liked women, and women liked men. There was no difference. 1,000 star stones. Yi Tianyun raised his hand, and the price was still the most crude. Chapter 1193. Master, what are you? Yu Ming didn't know what to say. Wasn't it a bit strange to bid for both of them? I suddenly changed my mind. I want to bid for all of the slaves so that the auction house can make a deal with me, Yi Tianyun said with a smile. This. Yu Ming didn't know what he meant, but she stood at the side and didn't ask anything. Everything was done according to Yi Tianyun's instructions. Yi Tianyun originally wanted to let Yu Ming decide who he wanted to buy, but he didn't. Now, he changed his mind, and that was to bid for all of the slaves to attract the upper echelons of the auction house. The main reason was that he had just checked this place and discovered that there was a special treasure buried deep underground. If he bid for all of the slaves, he might have a chance to communicate with the auction house. After bidding for the slaves, a huge commotion immediately occurred below, which shocked everyone. It was fine to bid for a bunch of demon fox twins at a high price, but why did he bid for these handsome men as well? In fact, they were all from the demon fox race. The demon fox race not only produced beautiful women, but also handsome men. They were very popular. The basic problem was that they were all like flower vases. It wasn't that they didn't have any battle strength, but their overall strength was weaker. Thus, they were easily caught. 1,050 star stones. A deep voice came from the side of the VIP room. Yi Tianyun narrowed his eyes and looked over. The appraisal eye immediately displayed the data over there. The one who bid for was a second refinement Earth monarch, but it was a female. With such a deep voice, it was really hard to imagine that it belonged to a female. If he didn't inspect it, he really wouldn't know that it was a female. If they were bought, who knew how these demon fox twins would be tortured? 1,100 star stones. Yi Tianyun continued to raise the price, competing with the other party. 1,200 star stones. Women were women, and their purchasing power was strong. She directly competed with Yi Tianyun. Looks like I've really met my type. Otherwise, I wouldn't have offered such a high price. Yi Tianyun shook his head. Then, he continued to raise his hand and said, 1,500 star stones. The price continued to soar, causing the spectators below to be dumbstruck. A considerable number of female members of the evil spirit race wanted to bid for it, but they did not have that many starstones on hand. How were they going to buy it? 1,700 starstones. The female on the other side roared angrily. At the same time, she warned, "Friend, I'm Earth Monarch Fan NA. Sometimes, it's best to quit while you're ahead. Don't be so impulsive." This was a warning to Yi Tianyun not to continue increasing the price. Otherwise, only death awaited him. Her cultivation level was indeed slightly higher, at least when compared to the evil spirit puppet, that was the case. When he called out a high price in the first round, there were quite a few great figures who continuously probed over, wanting to see what kind of background he had. He believed that his cultivation level had also been discovered. "Master, Earth Monarch Fan NA's cultivation isn't weak. She's a fierce general who likes men and has good relationships with many generals. She basically controls half of Evil Moon City. If you continue to compete." Beside him, Mingyu reminded him. 1,800 starstones. Yi Tianyun stretched out his hand and continued to bid, completely ignoring Fan NA's warning. He smiled and said to Mingyu, "This is the effect I want. I want to see how many elites there are here. Gather as many as you can, and save me the trouble of looking for them one by one." When Mingyu heard this, her heart trembled. This was really bold. It looked like her master's cultivation was definitely very strong. When she faced Yi Tianyun, she did not feel the slightest bit of powerful aura. Instead, she felt very calm. However, when she thought about how he could make her cultivation level break through consecutively in an instant without even using half an alchemical pill, it meant that Yi Tianyun's ability was definitely not simple. Bastard! Earth Monarch Fan NA fiercely slammed a fist on the table. It was not that she could not afford the high price, but that she was completely enraged. 1,000 starstones was like a game to an Earth Monarch. It was more casual. However, she had already warned him, and he had completely ignored her. That was another matter altogether. "Very good, when the auction is over, let me see who exactly dares to ignore me, Fan NA." Earth Monarch Fan NA was completely enraged. She felt extremely vexed, and suddenly slammed the table. She continued to shout, 2,500 starstones. She did not stop. Instead, she continued to show off her wealth. 3,000 starstones. Yi Tianyun continued to bid. 3,500 starstones. 4,000 starstones. Each bid was higher than the previous one, and this made all the members of the evil spirit race stunned. Just a few demon foxes were worth 4,000 starstones. If they used this price to buy other slaves, it was unknown how many starstones they could exchange for. In fact, they could even buy a decent blacksmith with this price. 4,500 starstones. Earth Monarch Fan NA continued to bid. At this moment, Yi Tianyun smiled faintly, and did not continue to bid. It was more or less like this. If they continued to compete, the price would definitely rise to over 10,000. There was still plenty of time to play, so there was no need to rush. 4,500 starstones, are there any higher bids? Deacon Shu Ji shouted excitedly. This was an unprecedentedly high price, so how could she not be excited? Since there are no higher bids, then this demon fox will be obtained by this esteemed guess. Deacon Shu Ji shouted excitedly as she pointed at Earth Monarch Fan NA. Earth Monarch Fan NA was not happy at all to obtain this pair of handsome men. In fact, she was filled with anger. She wanted nothing more than to tear Yi Tianyun into countless pieces. He had made her spend so much money, so how could she be happy? Looking at those demon foxes below, she licked her lips, and her eyes were filled with a bloodthirsty gaze. Yi Tianyun's stopping of bidding did not make her happy. Instead, it angered her even more. "Master, why did you stop bidding?" Ming Yu was a little curious. She had thought that Yi Tianyun would continue to bid until he could obtain the demon fox. "I stopped bidding. There are so many slaves below that we can choose from, so she definitely won't only choose the demon fox. When the time comes, we can just continue to compete with her." Yi Tianyun smiled. He felt that this auction was really interesting. "All right." Ming Yu nodded. Soon, the next cage was pushed onto the stage. This time, it was a brawny man who was pushed onto the stage. There were scars all over his body, and there was even a deep scar on his face. It was a ghastly sight. "Master, it's him. He is a strong man of his generation, and his strength is boundless. He can match up to many battle prowess," Mingyu hurriedly shouted. "No problem, I will definitely obtain him." Yi Tianyun smiled faintly. "Just raise your hand, and 2,000 starstones." Chapter 1194. Cough, cough, this esteemed guest is a little anxious. However, I still have to introduce him. He is a strong man from the mighty god race. He has extraordinary strength and is very difficult to deal with in the same realm. He is a second-layer star monarch. He is definitely qualified to be a good combat slave. Deacon Shu Ji still had to introduce him to let them know the background of this strong man. The starting price is 500 starstones. Each increment is 100 starstones. Now, let's start. After the announcement, Yi Tianyun continued, 2,500 starstones. Everyone was dumbfounded. Wasn't this a fool with too much money? They had already bid 2,000 starstones. Now, no one was bidding. What was the point of bidding? Yi Tianyun was just that simple and crude. He was just a rich tycoon. So what? 2,600 starstones. A deep voice came from another VIP room. "I am Earthly Lord FAU. I wonder if this friend can give me some face." "Mingyu, you bid." Yi Tianyun pointed at Mingyu beside him. He was too lazy to bid. 2,700 starstones. Mingyu shouted. This time, not only did he slap Earthly Lord FAU's face, but he also let his slave bid. Not to mention giving him face, he was stepping on his face. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. He really wanted to anger Earthly Lord FAU. Just now, he angered Earthly Lord Fan NA. Now, he even angered Earthly Lord FAU. He really wanted to die. 2,800 starstones. Earthly Lord FAU was furious. 2,900 starstones. Elysian Moon continued to bid. "Why are you bidding so little? Bid more." Yi Tianyun knocked on the table, indicating for Mingyu to bid higher. 3,500 starstones. Elysian Moon shouted again. "That's right. Don't help me save money. Bid as fiercely as you want." Yi Tianyun smiled. The only thing he lacked now was the starstones. After killing so many cultivators, he had a lot of starstones in his pocket. He didn't need to worry about paying. Moreover, he would spit them out later. So what if he gave them all away? 3,600 starstones. Earthly Lord FAU said coldly, "Friend, if you don't calm down when it comes to some things, then you'll bring calamity upon yourself." 4,600 starstones. Elysian Moon didn't hesitate to call out a higher price. This time, she called out a price of 1,000 starstones, which shocked everyone. Yi Tianyun stared at Elysian Moon in shock. Even if he wanted to raise the price, he didn't have to do it so brutally, did he? Fortunately, he would be able to get his money back in the future. Otherwise, he would have lost everything. Very good. Earth Monarch FAU let out a cold snort, followed by the sound of the table being smashed. He didn't continue to bid, but was thinking about how to deal with Yi Tianyun. This time, Yi Tianyun had successfully won the bid for the strongman, but he had also angered Earthly Monarch FAU. This made many evil spirit race members feel very puzzled. They didn't know who this distinguished guest was and why he dared to fight against these big shots. Soon after, another slave was pushed out. This time, it was a blacksmith, a cultivator that was close to the divine craftsman level. Very quickly, they started to bid crazily. From the beginning to the end, it was Elysian Moon who was bidding, and he was too lazy to bid. Actually, it wasn't that he was saving energy. He just wanted Elysian Moon to deliberately infuriate them. Letting his own slave bid instead of him would make them feel that they were being looked down upon. This was the effect he wanted. There was nothing wrong with being a little high profile. It could even be said that he wanted to be a little high profile and provoke everyone. It would be best if everyone came to seek revenge on him. That was his real plan. This time, all the big shots were infuriated by him. If it wasn't for the fact that they couldn't fight at will in the auction, they would have rushed to the VIP lounge and beaten him up. Along the way, Yi Qianyun bid for all the slaves, and the price he bid was unimaginably high. It was as if he wasn't spending money, but a pile of rubbish. This made many evil spirit race members speculate that he was either really rich, or he was deliberately provoking them and didn't have any money at all. Wait a moment. At this time, Earth Lord FAU shouted from the VIP lounge at the side. He stood up and said, "Friend, I wonder if you've bought so many slaves. According to the price, it should be at least a few 100,000 star stones, right? I wonder if you have that many star stones to pay. If you're here to cause trouble, I think the owner of the auction won't let you off." "We, too, won't let you off." Yi Qianyun basically took up more than half of the slaves he had bid for, and most of the slaves in the auction had been won by him. The prices were all above 4,000 to 5,000 star stones, and some even reached 10,000 star stones. It could be said that he was rich and overbearing. However, this made them wonder if Yi Qianyun really had that much money. Administrator Shu Ji narrowed his eyes and looked at Yi Qianyun. If he was here to cause trouble, then don't blame him for being impolite. However, an Earth Lord couldn't be poor no matter what. Therefore, even if he was here to cause trouble, he could still make up for a lot of losses by stripping him clean. "Do you think I'm as poor as you?" Yi Qianyun replied indifferently. These words caused Earth Lord FAU to explode with anger. "You actually said that I'm poor." Earth Lord FAU said angrily, "I just don't want to waste my money here." "Then how much money do you have? How dare you act so arrogantly? Now, you just need to provide me with enough money to buy so many slaves. If you can't, then don't even think about leaving this place." "That's right. This esteemed guest, please provide the corresponding value." Administrator Shu Ji inquired. Yi Qianyun smiled indifferently. He knew that this would happen. He immediately waved his hand lightly, and dozens of middle-grade reincarnation grade weapons and several high-grade reincarnation grade weapons appeared in front of everyone. They widened their eyes. To them, these were all amazing weapons, and they all wished they could have one. Now, Yi Qianyun had dozens of them, and he even had several high-grade reincarnation grade weapons. Just these high-grade reincarnation grade weapons were already worth a lot of money, and they were even more than that. Star stones weren't very valuable here, and they were far less valuable than in the divine domain. The main reason was that they occupied too many places, and there were many places where they could dig for star stones. However, there were relatively few weapons. Especially in the Fanyu, there were even fewer reincarnation grade weapons. Thus, even a high-grade reincarnation grade treasure was enough to make them salivate, and they wished they could have one. "I wonder if this is enough." Yi Qianyun took back these weapons, and many evil spirit race members' gazes seemed to be dragged over, and they didn't recover for a long time. These weapons wouldn't cause any waves among the second-grade divine domain geniuses, but it was different here. They could attract the gazes of many evil spirit race members, and they even attracted the greedy gazes of Earth Lord FAU and the others. "Enough, enough." Administrator Shu Ji nodded repeatedly, and his face was full of surprise. "This esteemed guest, I'm really sorry, but this is just a routine matter. If we offended you just now, please forgive us. When the time comes, we will waive a portion of the slave's fees, which will be equivalent to your compensation." Chapter 1195. Others would think that Yi Qianyun was a fool for such a high-profile behavior, but he wanted to show that he was a nouveau riche and could attract everyone's hatred. Those from the evil spirit race thought that Yi Qianyun was too high-profile. As long as he went out, wouldn't he be robbed? Others think that he is too high-profile, but Yi Qianyun is deliberately doing this, letting them fall into the trap he laid himself. These traps were easy to see and a little stupid, but since they were from the same race, they basically didn't have any doubts. After this high profile, Yi Qianyun continued to auction, and even fewer people dared to compete with him. How many star stones could he exchange for with so many weapons? The key was that he might not be using weapons to exchange for them, but other things. No matter what, at least no one dared to compete with him. As long as Yi Qianyun raised the price, they would immediately choose to give up. It couldn't be helped. Yi Qianyun was so rich and overbearing, who dared to compete with him? No one present could compete with him and didn't have that much money. Thus, they could only watch helplessly as Yi Tianyun bid for the slaves. At the same time, they constantly guessed Yi Tianyun's background. They all guessed that he came from the divine domain. Otherwise, how could he have so many high-grade weapons? He even bid for the blacksmith. What is he doing? He already has so many weapons, yet he still wants to bid for the blacksmith? That's right, isn't this too much of a scam? I just wanted a blacksmith to strengthen my faction, but he has already been bid for. He is just rich and can buy whatever he wants. I wonder when I will have so much money. What made them feel the most ridiculous was that Yi Tianyun had bought the blacksmith. It was very difficult for the evil spirit race to learn other professions, especially the higher-level professions. For example, the blacksmith could learn by themselves, the divine pattern masters could also learn, but there were pitifully few divine craftsmen. This meant that they could still learn the professions at the Fan Yu level, but they basically couldn't cultivate the professions at the higher levels. Perhaps this was their shortcoming. No race was perfect. They had greater power, but they didn't have the talent in this area. It was indeed a bit of a trap. Therefore, they kept mixing the bloodlines to see if they could improve the situation in this aspect. Reality proved that there was a slight improvement, but only a slight one. Unless the majority of the bloodline belonged to another race, the effect would not be as good as the talents of other races. For example, back then, he had continuously devoured the divine spirit race's bloodline in order to strengthen himself. However, there was always a limit to how much he could strengthen himself. Thus, capturing the experts of other races and making them their slaves was the best and fastest way to solve this problem. If they lacked alchemists, they would find alchemists. If they lacked blacksmiths, they would find blacksmiths. There was no pressure at all. Soon, under Yi Tianyun's brutal bidding, the auction came to an end. Usually, it was very intense. Even if the price increased bit by bit, at least the atmosphere was very lively. Now, as soon as Yi Tianyun made his bid, there was an awkward silence. It was not interesting at all. No one would bid against him, so the price immediately sank to the bottom. Fortunately, the prices weren't bad, so Deacon Shu Ji didn't have any complaints. It was just that during this auction, Yi Tianyun would probably provoke quite a lot of people. However, it didn't matter to him. As long as he paid, Yi Tianyun's life and death had nothing to do with him. The last slave is a divine craftsman. He is a divine craftsman, and the price is very worth it. The starting price is 10,000 starstones, 15,000 starstones. Is there anyone else who wants to bid? This is a divine craftsman. Alright then, if no one else wants to bid, then 15,000 starstones will be won by that distinguished guest. Auctions were just that boring, and it ended so easily. It could be said that this was the first time in history that an auction ended so quickly. After it ended, none of them left immediately. Instead, they stayed behind to look at Yi Tianyun's appearance. They didn't know what this rich and overbearing fellow looked like. Following that, Yi Tianyun walked out with Ming Yu. Under everyone's watchful eyes, he slowly walked down with an expressionless face, looking very cold. He allowed them to size him up and endured the gazes of countless evil spirit race members. He arrived in front of Deacon Shu Ji and asked, "How many starstones in total?" "Hello, a total of 376,400 starstones. Since you bought quite a lot, we will give you a discounted price. 350,000 starstones will do." Deacon Shu Ji gave a ruthless discount of over 10,000 starstones, which could be considered a very good deal. "Not bad, then I will pay with starstones," Yi Tianyun said. "Ah, pay with starstones." Deacon Shu Ji was shocked. He thought that Yi Tianyun would pay with weapons, which made him a little disappointed. Although there were many weapons in the auction, who would dislike a high-grade weapon? After buying it, they could auction it again and immediately earn a lot. "Why can't I?" Yi Tianyun looked at him indifferently. "Sure, no problem." Deacon Shu Ji nodded, and his eyes shone brightly. It seemed that Yi Tianyun's net worth was really rich. Not only did he have a lot of starstones, but he also had a lot of weapons and treasures. Immediately, Yi Tianyun took out a storage ring and transferred a pile of starstones to it. Many thanks, esteemed customer. This is an additional ring for you. It is specially used to store slaves. Deacon Shuji gave out a ring. This was a living being ring. The cost was relatively low, and it could be used to store slaves. It was impossible to bring dozens of slaves or hundreds of slaves to wander around blindly, right? Therefore, there were such rings to store slaves. Some powerhouses even had thousands of slaves. Therefore, they needed this living being ring even more. Okay. Yi Tianyun took the storage ring. Actually, he had a lot of them, but since the other party had given them to him, he was too lazy to refuse. Okay, I will transfer the slave oath to you now. Deacon Shuji was about to transfer the slave oath to Yi Tianyun, but Yi Tianyun gestured him not to hurry. You can transfer the slave's oath to her. Yi Tianyun pointed at Mingyu and said. Deacon Shuji was startled. He had never heard of such a method. She is my slave. Is there a problem with handing these things over to her? Yi Tianyun said indifferently. No problem, no problem. Deacon Shuji smiled indifferently. Since Yi Tianyun had said so, what else could he do? Let alone Deacon Shuji, even Mingyu was startled. She did not know why she was transferred to her. In a while, explain the plan to them. The auction is about to start. Don't disappoint me. Yi Tianyun transmitted his voice to Mingyu. Mingyu was startled. Then, her eyes narrowed and she nodded. Chapter 1196. After the auction, Deacon Shuji said respectfully, Is there anything else I can help you with, esteemed guest? There is indeed something that I need your help with. Yi Tianyun said with a smile. What is it? As long as we can help, we will definitely help. Deacon Shuji's eyes lit up. It's very simple, I want to meet your president. Yi Tianyun said indifferently, I have a deal to discuss with him personally. This. Deacon Shuji's smile sank, but he nodded and said, Then let me talk to the president first. It's not very convenient for him recently, so I can only talk to him first. If he is not willing, there is nothing I can do. He was very apologetic. It didn't seem like an excuse, but it was really not easy to talk about it. Sure. Yi Tianyun nodded and gestured for him to quickly talk to the president. Soon, Deacon Shuji turned around and went in to look for the president. After a short while, Deacon Shuji came out and bowed. The president said that he allows you to see him. Please follow me. Deacon Shuji gestured for Yi Tianyun to follow him. He turned around and walked in first, and Yi Tianyun followed behind the curtain. At the same time, Earth Lord Fau and the others had gathered outside and were discussing something in secret. Why did Deacon Shuji bring people in? He should be going to meet the president. No matter what, we should discuss how to split it when the time comes. Can't we just split it evenly? How else can we split it? Yes, split it evenly. When that kid comes out, we will join forces to sneak attack him and snatch all the slaves and treasures. Earth Lord Fau wasn't the only one present. Earth Lord Fan Na was also present. There were also other Earth Lords gathered together to discuss something. They were all plotting how to deal with Yi Tianyun and how to split Yi Tianyun's treasures. There were 7 or 8 Earth Lords present, and they were extremely envious of Yi Tianyun's wealth. If they could snatch it, they would definitely be able to increase their strength by a lot. The evil spirit race was not particularly united, and there were still some struggles. While they were discussing, Yi Tianyun, led by Deacon Shuji, stopped in front of a door. The guild leader is inside. Shuji pushed open the door and gestured for Yi Tianyun to enter. Yi Tianyun nodded and lifted his foot to walk inside. After entering, Deacon Shuji quickly closed the door, not daring to leave it open for too long. After entering, the first thing he felt was dense demonic energy, which was actually the energy transmitted by the dark attribute core. There was a darkness element core buried deep beneath their feet. What entered his sight was an evil spirit expert, sitting in front of him and looking at him. He was extremely burly, and he was a pure evil spirit. His cultivation was at the 7th layer of the Lord of Heaven. As a guild leader, it was not surprising that he had such strength. With such strength in Fan Yu, he could indeed do whatever he wanted, but in the divine realm, he was only considered average strength. Precisely because he was in Fanyu, there was no need for him to have such a strong cultivation. It was still very comfortable here. I heard that you want to see me and discuss a deal with me. President Miso squinted at Yi Tianyun, trying to see something from him. However, no matter how he looked, he could only see that he was from the evil spirit race, and a very pure one at that. His cultivation was only at the first refinement Earth Lord level. He could not see through this evil spirit puppet. It was exactly the same as the real evil spirit race, so naturally, he could not see through it. Yes, it's a very simple deal. Yi Tianyun smiled faintly and said, I think you should have a special treasure. I wonder if you can sell it. President Miso's eyes narrowed, but he immediately smiled faintly and said, what special treasure? Why don't I know? We basically only sell slaves here. As for treasures, I do have them, but they're limited to various weapons. They're not as good as your weapons, or at most, they're on par. No matter how good they are, they can't be sold here. When he said that they couldn't be sold, he naturally meant that the price was too high. No one could afford it even if they wanted to sell it. For example, if a heavenly Tao weapon was thrown down, who could afford it? At the very least, these Earth Lords would not be able to afford it. Even the Lord of Heaven would have to go bankrupt to be able to afford it. It was normal that President Miso did not tell the truth. Yi Tianyun had already expected this. All right then. In that case, I won't disturb you anymore. Yi Tianyun nodded and turned to leave. Esteemed guest, you're welcome to come again. President Miso smiled. Since he could buy so many slaves, he was an esteemed guest. Naturally, he had to give him a gift. Suddenly, Yi Tianyun's figure flashed and disappeared on the spot. In the next moment, he appeared behind President Miso. With lightning speed, he grabbed President Miso's head and slammed it against the ground. There was a loud thud. At the same time, the power of the title was released. The extreme suppression of the heavenly Tao quickly weakened President Miso's strength by 300%. Under this crazy weakening, President Miso's strength was at most at the first or second level of the Lord of Heaven's cultivation. It was simply not enough. Under this complete suppression, President Miso's strength was directly sealed, and he could not move. You're a human. President Miso glanced at the person pressing down on his head. It was not the evil spirit from before, but a human. If Yi Tianyun wanted to use the effect of the title, he naturally had to reveal his true body. Otherwise, he would not be able to release the power. You guessed correctly, but there's no prize. Yi Tianyun sneered. Since you're not willing to bring me there, I can only bring you down to get it. Then, he lifted President Miso up. Apart from sealing his strength, he also chopped off his limbs so that he could not move. No matter how he screamed, it was meaningless. This was because such screams could not be transmitted out. They were all isolated by him. Yi Tianyun stepped under the chair. Then, there was a rumbling sound. The ground slowly opened up to reveal a long staircase leading downwards. How did you know there was a secret passage here? President Miso was extremely shocked. He had hidden it so well. How had he been discovered? I saw through it at a glance, idiot. Yi Tianyun had indeed seen through it at a glance. However, it had been through the appraisal eye. If it had been anyone else, they would not have been able to see through it. Then, he grabbed President Miso's head and quickly rushed down the passageway. After they went down, the door of the secret passage quickly closed. There was no trace of them at all. Even if Deacon Shu Ji returned and saw that they were not here, he would not suspect anything. He would probably think that President Miso had brought Yi Tianyun down this secret passage. Chapter 1197. As Nai Yang grabbed Miso's head and ran down, he sensed an increasingly dense dark energy coming from underground. After running for a while, they arrived in front of a large door. This door was so thick that not even a Lord of Heaven could break it open. If it was Yi Tianyun, he would be able to break it, but if he did so, it would alarm the big shots of Evil Moon City. Hence, he kept a low profile, letting Miso summon him, then launching a sneak attack. Everything was going according to plan. Open the door for me. Yi Tianyun dragged Miso forward. I won't open the door for you, you damned human. Bang. Yi Tianyun grabbed Miso's head and smashed it against the door. After smashing it twice, the door slowly opened. The main thing was that once the door was stained with President Miso's blood, it could slowly open. Without his blood, the door could not be opened. I didn't ask you to open the door for me. I was just saying. Yi Tianyun dragged Miso's head back. Miso was already dizzy. Being smashed twice was a real pain. After the door opened, a thick wave of dark attribute energy rushed over and began to heal President Miso's injuries. However, it was useless. Yi Tianyun quickly suppressed it, making it hard for him to recover. After entering, the first thing that came into view was naturally the dark core. The massive dark core was embedded in the ground, surrounded by divine rune arrays so that the dark energy could flow to its surface. The dark core was only one of Yi Tianyun's targets. The other was the spirit fruit growing on top of the core. That's right, a fruit tree was growing on top of the core. It looked like a plump black fruit was forming, emitting a faint black glow. This was a rank 6 God Realm dark spirit fruit, an extremely high-grade spirit fruit. According to legend, it would only grow on a core. This kind of dark spirit fruit would constantly absorb the core's energy. Normally, it would only grow 2 spirit fruits. The main thing was that after growing 2, the energy essence of the parasitic core would be sucked dry. However, in terms of rarity, this dark spirit fruit was much more valuable than the core. The two were not even on the same level. Cores were very precious, but they were divided into different grades. The dark core in front of him was only a second-grade treasure. However, this second-grade treasure couldn't be compared with other treasures. The main thing was its usefulness. The core could allow a planet to have more life. The use of this dark spirit fruit was to crazily strengthen one's dark attribute physique, which could raise one's realm by a large margin. If one did not have the dark attribute, after consuming it, one would be able to obtain the dark attribute constitution. Moreover, it would be the dark sage body, which was considered to be of a higher grade. It was just that the difficulty of condensing this dark spirit fruit was too high, and the time required was similarly very long. Without tens of thousands of years, it would be impossible for the dark spirit fruit to grow. The fact that the dark spirit fruit was about to ripen meant that it had been growing for tens of thousands of years. It was obvious that Miso wanted to keep it for himself so that he could improve his physique. Who would have thought that Yi Tianyun would discover it? His appraisal eye pierced through the layers of divine runes and saw the situation inside. What attracted him the most was the dark spirit fruit. As for the dark core, it was not bad, but there were quite a few of them here, so it would be difficult to take them away. The core wasn't something that could be taken away at will. If it could be taken away at will, it would have been easily taken away by others. If one wanted to take away the core, one would need powerful heavenly Tao energy to turn into a rope and drag the core away. This had to be dragged away slowly, which was rather difficult. Or rather, dragging a core away was equivalent to turning oneself into a big target. How could one not attract attention? However, Yi Tianyun had a bold idea that he hadn't tried before. Perhaps he could try it now. How did you find the dark spirit fruit here? Miso was shocked. He was about to go crazy. Why do you care how I found it? Since I found this place, everything here belongs to me. Yi Tianyun looked at the dark spirit fruit. He felt that it was not bad, mainly because it could be used to strengthen the evil spirit puppets. The stronger the evil spirit puppets were, the better. In the future, they could be his fighters. How could he waste them? Especially with so many evil spirit race beings, after killing so many, his cultivation would definitely rise rapidly. Following that, the heavenly tribulation would be difficult to resist. Without some foundation, it would be difficult to rush to a higher level. The dark spirit fruit was undoubtedly a good thing. It could greatly strengthen one's physique. When the time came, it would undoubtedly be easier to sneak into the evil spirit race. Strength was always the most important. If he didn't want the forces in the divine realm to reject him, he had to increase his cultivation. Only then could he successfully sneak in. Otherwise, how could he sneak in without even a stepping stone? ***, I am going to kill you. Miso roared. He wanted to struggle and resist, but how could he be stronger than Yi Tianyun? Kill me. Then I'll kill you first. Your value is only to help me open the door. Then, Yi Qianyun squeezed hard. With a bang, Miso's head was easily crushed, turning into a ball of blood. He was here to open the door. If he forced his way in, the impact would be too great. Ding. Successfully killed Miso. Obtained 7 compressed experience points. Evil spirit blood, evil spirit bone, evil spirit soul, Lord of Heaven level. If the evil spirit puppet absorbed the evil spirit soul of the Lord of Heaven level, the effects would undoubtedly be even more shocking. After killing it, Yi Qianyun came in front of the dark spirit fruit. As soon as he got close, the dark spirit fruit immediately swept out several pitch-black whips towards him. Yi Qianyun stretched out his hand and lightly flicked the pitch-black whips away, dissipating in the air. Squeak, squeak, squeak. The dark spirit fruit let out a few screams. The long whips that were thrown out were actually its roots. Since its roots had been destroyed, it would definitely feel pain. However, this way, it wouldn't continue to attack. It even attacks people and wants to suck me dry. Yi Qianyun narrowed his eyes and looked at it. As expected of the dark spirit fruit, the fruit of evil. It wants to suck anything with a bit of life force. It's a pity you met me. But I don't have time to wait for you to condense a second fruit. Yi Qianyun reached out and waved at the dark spirit fruit. A powerful force immediately locked onto the dark spirit fruit. The dark spirit fruit writhed wildly, trying to break free. But how could its strength compare to Yi Qianyun's? With a gentle tug, the dark spirit fruit let out a shrill cry and was caught in his hand. As soon as it landed in his hand, a plume of black smoke floated up from the dark spirit fruit. Then, the dark spirit fruit in his hand was no longer a dark spirit fruit, but a beautiful girl. This girl had beautiful eyes and black hair. Her skin was like jade. She was even more beautiful than the women outside. Chapter 1198. The dark spirit fruit turned into a beautiful girl, looking pitiful and pitiful. In this case, there are still many people who can't bear to eat it. Young master, please let me go, okay? The girl begged, I will help you, let you become stronger quickly, please don't eat me, get lost. Yi Qianyun's eyes turned cold, the strength in his hand suddenly increased a bit. Under this squeeze, the girl screamed, the illusion suddenly disappeared, and turned back into a spirit fruit, no different from before. This is undoubtedly the charm ability of the dark spirit fruit. It wants to charm Yi Qianyun, so that he won't eat it. However, it doesn't make any sense, this charm is meaningless to him, he can easily break it and turn back into an ordinary dark spirit fruit. This is a small trick of a high-grade spirit fruit. If he really listened to it, he doesn't know from which angle it will attack him and suck him dry. Spirit fruits that reach this level, including other spirit herbs, have some initial spiritual wisdom. How can it let others eat it at will? Therefore, it will definitely use some means to protect itself. However, illusion is always illusion, it is not a real entity, it is easy to see through. This kind of charm is meaningless to him, it only arouses his anger. Since it dared to charm him, he will not be polite. It has a little spiritual wisdom, if it was any other cultivator, they will really be charmed by you. Yi Qianyun looked at the dark spirit fruit coldly, if he is a little careless, he will die. Compassion can exist, but it depends on what you have compassion for. The dark spirit fruit is evil, it will devour anything except itself, it will not make sense to sympathize with it, it will only make you become its fertilizer earlier. Immediately, he threw the dark spirit fruit into the shop and sold it, in exchange for a few 100,000 crazy points, not compressed crazy points, the two are different concepts. Then he looked at the situation in the shop, this dark spirit fruit is expensive, as high as 80 million crazy points, converted to compressed crazy points is equal to 8 point. When it was sold, it was only a few tenths of compressed crazy points, but when it was bought, it cost 8 crazy points. This shop was simply an invincible scam. Yi Qianyun wasn't an idiot. The reason he sold it to the store was simple. It was to let him buy the dark spirit fruit. Dark spirit fruit is very rare, so it's normal for it to be worth 8 crazy points. This way, he would be able to purchase it at will. It wouldn't be a problem to use it to strengthen the evil spirit puppets or use it to replace other treasures. After all, this item was considerably rare. If Shifeng brought it to God's domain, it would cause a mad scramble for it. If it was sold, it would cause an even greater uproar. For him, as long as he has crazy points, he can buy unlimited items, regardless of the number of times. It would be a little painful in the beginning, but at least they could keep buying. After all, the dark spirit fruit needed to grow on top of the dark core and needed to be nurtured for tens of thousands of years. He could not afford to wait that long. The simplest and crudest method was to throw it into the store and buy it again. It was simple, crude, and quite practical. If he doesn't have crazy points, he will have it later. 8 crazy points. Yi Tianyun shook his head. The price was really high. If it weren't for the fact that he was surrounded by Star Monarch level and above, he doesn't know how many crazy points he could get from killing them. Immediately, he looked at the dark core. He lifted his foot and came to the front of the dark core. He reached out and climbed on it. Collect. With a whoosh, the huge dark core disappeared in front of him. Originally, the dark core was filled with dark core, but now it was empty. It was like a big piece of empty space. The dark core didn't disappear, but he kept it in his inventory. He wanted to try this before, but he can't take away the dark core at will. Otherwise, it will definitely cause a big mess. The dark core here is different. There is no problem in taking it away at will. After trying it out, he easily put it into his inventory. It was extremely easy. Instant kill all storage space, and even the inner world. It's really taken away. This way I can easily take away the dark core. Yi Tianyun was happy. He wanted to ask if he could take away the dark core. If he could smoothly steal the dark core here, that would be perfect. After taking away the dark core, he didn't stay here for long and left. When he went up to the top, the room was still empty, no one came in. After opening the door, he saw Deacon Shu Ji waiting outside, not daring to leave. Honored guest, you came out. May I know what's the situation with President Miso? He couldn't feel President Miso's aura, so he was a little confused. Your president is still in the secret room. He said not to disturb him. I used a good treasure to exchange with your president. I think he is going to go into seclusion. Yi Tianyun lied without blinking. Deacon Shu Ji nodded. He didn't think Yi Tianyun was lying, so he didn't go in. Mainly, he felt that with such a huge gap in cultivation, how could Yi Tianyun hurt their president? Then, Yi Tianyun swaggered out. As soon as he came out, he immediately attracted the attention of Earth Lord Fau and the others. They looked at each other, indicating that they would act according to the plan. Yi Tianyun lifted his feet and flew out, planning to leave Evil Moon City. After flying out of Evil Moon City, he flew straight to the spacious world outside. Actually, he just randomly chose a place without the evil spirit race and flew to see how many people would chase after him. After flying for a while, he came to a rather remote area, and suddenly, a few figures appeared in front of him. Friend, where are you going in such a hurry? The people who appeared in front of Yi Tianyun were Earth Lord Fau, Earth Lord Fan Na, and other Earth Lords who came out of nowhere. In the blink of an eye, 6 Earth Lords blocked in front of him. Before Yi Tianyun could reply, a few more figures appeared beside him. Earth Lord Fau, you guys really came to intercept us. At this moment, a group of Earth Lords appeared at the side. When they saw them, they weren't surprised. Earth Lord Uge, you guys actually came. Earth Lord Fau and the others' eyes turned cold. With so many people involved, it wouldn't be easy to split the spoils. The other group also had many Earth Lords. There were also 5 of them. In total, there were 11 Earth Lords surrounding them. It was really a big move. Chapter 1199. Earth Monarch Fau, if you can come, why can't we? Earth Monarch Uge and the others looked at them coldly with hostility. It wasn't that they didn't have a good relationship, but there were too many people now, and it wasn't easy to distribute the items. Before they finished their conversation, another group of Earth Monarchs appeared. From a dozen, they piled up to 20, then 30. After piling up, there were finally more than 40 Earth Monarchs, and some Star Monarchs surrounded them. There were more than 70 of them in total. It was unknown if this number would increase, or if 1 or 2 Lord of Heaven would appear. With so many Earth Monarchs, it's the right decision to be high profile. Yi Tianyun smiled. This was what he needed, to capture most of the Earth monarchs in one fell swoop. There were many Earth monarchs in Evil Moon City, but most of them were here. As long as they eliminated this group of Earth monarchs, Evil Moon City's combat power would be reduced by half, and the rest would be left to Yu Ming. This was equivalent to giving Yu Ming a mission. If he couldn't even complete this mission, then he wouldn't be qualified to be the God General. While he was planning how to crush this group of idiots, they were in a heated argument. I didn't expect all of you to come. Why, do you all want to get some benefits from him? Aren't you? He has so many weapons and treasures, and there might be more that he hasn't revealed yet. We just came along to ask for a weapon or two. T. He provoked me before, and even tried to snatch my slaves. He didn't give me any face at all. What did he do to you? He has no enmity with us, he just came to borrow some treasures. Do you have anything to say? They all started cursing at each other, not wanting each other to get involved and affect their own benefits. Enough. Earth Monarch Fan Na snorted and said coldly, "What are you arguing about? Now is not the time to say such things. Let's see what treasures he has first." Hearing this, the other Earth Monarchs nodded in agreement. It seemed like Earth Monarch Fan Na's words carried quite a lot of weight. Immediately, everyone calmed down and stopped arguing. Then, they all stared at Yi Tianyun. "Unfortunately, you've provoked me. I asked you to give me some face, but you refused. Now, I'll give you a chance. Either you die or you hand over all your treasures. It's that simple." Earth Monarch Fan Na said coldly, "I'm giving you a chance to redeem yourself. I don't care where you come from, but Evil Moon City is our territory. In our territory, you have to listen to us." Earth Monarch Fan Na was just that arrogant. She might not have any say in the deity domain, but in Evil Moon City, there was no problem. She didn't dare to say that she had absolute authority, but at the very least, most of the Earth monarchs would stand behind her. "I'm just buying slaves normally. What's wrong with that?" Yi Tianyun shrugged. "It's true that you bought slaves, but you bought the slaves that I wanted. That's a big mistake." Earth Monarch Fan Na looked at him coldly and said, "It seems like you don't know how to do things. I don't know which faction taught you, but it's a miracle that you can cultivate to this level." "What? From your tone, it sounds like I'm going to die if I don't listen to your orders." Yi Tianyun laughed. "No, I should say that I'm going to die from the very beginning. I don't think you'll let me go. You just want to see what treasures I have so that you won't destroy them in a fight." Weapons were naturally harder to destroy, but elixirs were easier to destroy. Therefore, they first gave a scare before attacking fiercely. They couldn't figure out Yi Tianyun's identity, so the best outcome was to kill him. As long as they killed him, everything would be a secret. Earth Monarch Fan Na's cold eyes flickered with coldness. "It seems like you're not stupid, but there's something wrong with your head. Since you've figured it out, it'll be much easier. If you're straightforward and hand over all your treasures, we won't let you die too painfully." From the very beginning, they didn't plan to let Yi Tianyun go. Now that they were exposed, they could only tell the truth. "Is that so? If I really did that, then there must be something wrong with my head." Yi Tianyun glanced around and said with a sneer, "My friend, don't hide, come out quickly." Earth Monarch Fan Na and the others were startled and quickly looked to the side. There was no one there. They quickly looked to where Yi Tianyun was and found that he was still there. He didn't purposely deceive them and then run away. Not willing to come out. Yi Tianyun flicked his hand, and a beam of light burst out, and then fell on the corner of the room. Bang! A group of figures appeared on the side. They were none other than Deacon Shu Ji and the others from the auction. He didn't expect them to follow him. "Esteemed guest, we don't have any ill intentions. We're just here to take a look." Deacon Shu Ji rubbed his palms with a wretched expression. Who would believe him? Even a 3-year-old wouldn't believe him if he was just here to take a look. "Deacon Shu Ji, you're all here?" Earth Monarch Fan Na's expression sank. She didn't expect them to hide behind her without being discovered. "We don't have any ill intentions. We're just here to take a look." Deacon Shu Ji chuckled. "Don't talk so much nonsense, since you're already here, there's no point in continuing to talk like this." Yi Tianyun said indifferently, "Do you want to come here to rob us?" Didn't you say that I'm an esteemed guest? Is this how you treat an esteemed guest? This. Deacon Shu Ji squinted at him and smiled. Esteemed guest, you've misunderstood us. If you're willing to pay the price, we'll do our best to protect you and prevent them from harming you. However, the price is a little high. I hope you can understand. Looting a burning house. The status of the auction house wasn't low. They didn't even fear Earth Monarch Fan Na, so they naturally dared to say such words. Deacon Shu Ji, how dare you? Earth Monarch Fan Na's eyes turned cold. She didn't expect Deacon Shu Ji's group to interfere. If they rescued Yi Tianyun, who knew what kind of identity Yi Tianyun had? At that time, Deacon Shu Ji would definitely gain double the reward. You flatter me, you flatter me. Deacon Shu Ji smiled. I'm a coward. I just want to do some small business. Now, there were two sides. As long as Yi Tianyun said he would hand over the treasures, Deacon Shu Ji's group would immediately charge over to rescue him. Otherwise, he would be at the mercy of Earth Monarch Fan Na's group. Chapter 1200. They thought that Yi Tianyun would choose them, but little did they know that Yi Tianyun wouldn't choose anyone. Seeing them quarreling made him laugh. More than half of the experts in Evil Moon City had come. In total, there were at least 70 to 80 Earth Monarchs. How could he not be happy with the huge amount of experience points in front of him? I didn't expect to attract so many Earth Monarchs. I've really struck it rich this time. Yi Tianyun smiled and felt very happy. When Earth Monarch FAU and the others saw that Yi Tianyun could still smile, they were instantly enraged. They thought that Yi Tianyun would definitely choose Deacon Shu Ji to protect him and escape. That was why he was smiling so happily. Deacon Shu Ji had brought a lot of Earth Monarchs. There were also over a dozen Earth Monarchs. Most importantly, Deacon Shu Ji's background wasn't weak. They couldn't casually injure Deacon Shu Ji. Otherwise, President Miso would definitely pursue the matter. Of course, President Miso was already dead, and there was no way he would pursue the matter. Deacon Shu Ji also thought that Yi Tianyun wanted his protection, which was why he was smiling so happily. Esteemed guest, it seems like you have made a wise decision. Deacon Shu Ji responded with a smile. He looked at Yi Tianyun as though he was looking at a money tree that could constantly produce money. Of course, I have made the decision from the beginning. Yi Tianyun smiled. Then you are sure that you want us to be your guards and rescue you? Deacon Shu Ji smiled. Deacon Shu Ji, aren't you being too arrogant? Do you think you can save him with just these few people? Earth Monarch Fan Na and the others were instantly enraged. This kind of condescension was simply too arrogant. That's right. Do you think we are vegetarians? Even if your president is here, he would have to think twice. All of them were infuriated. Even if their cultivation wasn't as high as President Miso's, it didn't mean that they couldn't find someone stronger. Then why don't you try? Deacon Shu Ji's eyes narrowed and flickered with coldness. You guys wait. Yi Tianyun motioned for them to stop. Instantly, everyone's eyes focused on him. Who said that I need Deacon Shu Ji's protection? He doesn't want Deacon Shu Ji's protection. They were all dumbfounded, wondering if they had heard wrong. Esteemed guest, what do you mean by this? If you don't let us protect you, do you think you can escape by yourself? Deacon Shu Ji's expression turned ugly. Wasn't this a slap to his face? No, I won't escape. I will kill all of you here. As soon as the words were spoken, Yi Tianyun's figure appeared in the sky. Before they could react, the title of the top earthly monarch of all times was unleashed. The absolute suppression of earthly monarchs was immediately unleashed, especially with the suppression of the heavenly Tao's power. It immediately caused their strength to shrink drastically. It was as if they had become extremely weak star monarchs. They were greatly weakened. Human race. They were stunned. They didn't know what was going on. Suddenly, a human came out from the evil spirit race's body. More importantly, they felt that their strength had been greatly reduced, and they could not even raise their strength. It was as if there was some kind of power suppressing them, making them unable to move. Die. Yi Tianyun didn't have time to be long-winded with them. His figure flashed, and two figures swept to the side. Yi Qianyun swung his spear. As if he was harvesting cabbages, a wave of evil spirit race was directly swept into ashes. The evil spirit puppets attacked at the same time. One punch was like smashing eggs. It didn't take any effort at all. In the blink of an eye, a majority of the evil spirit race were killed. It was as easy as cutting melons and vegetables. Ding! Successfully killed evil spirit race, Earth Monarch level 3. Obtained experience. Obtained evil spirit soul, evil spirit blood, Earth Monarch level, ding. Successfully killed evil spirit race, Earth Monarch level 2. Obtained experience, ding. A string of pleasant sounds rang out, and shocking numbers kept popping up. The Earth Monarch level experience was quite a lot. Although he needed a lot of experience to level up, it was very little. Coupled with the 64 times experience, it was already quite shocking. Right now, the most important thing for him was to obtain the materials of the evil spirit race. When the time came, he would use them all on the evil spirit puppets, and they would be able to increase by several levels. In the blink of an eye, more than half of the evil spirit race had been swept away. All of them were shocked. Some of them reacted in time to escape, but they realized that they couldn't fly at all. Under the suppression of this title, their speed wasn't even 10% of their usual speed. In Yi Qianyun's eyes, they were like snails. Where are you trying to escape to? Yi Qianyun's figure flashed and blocked in front of Earth Monarch Fan NA. I didn't expect our evil spirit race to collude with the human race. This is simply despicable. Earth Monarch Fan NA was infuriated. What she couldn't accept the most was that her own race would collude with outsiders. This was absolutely not allowed. Even if they had a fierce internal strife, they disdained to collude with the human race. It was simply a disgrace to their status. Is that so? Then you can go to hell and enjoy your despicable life. Yi Qianyun sneered and pierced through Earth Monarch Fan NA's body with his spear. At the same time, with a twist of his spear, the enormous body immediately turned into a blood mist. She couldn't be any more dead. Following that, his figure flashed and blocked in front of Earth Monarch FAU again. Before the other party could speak, he had already pierced through her. Why your human race will be exterminated, bang! Yi Qianyun twisted his hand, and Earth Monarch FAU was completely exterminated. Before our human race is exterminated, your evil spirit race shall be exterminated first. Yi Qianyun's eyes turned cold. He quickly turned his gaze to the other evil spirit race members and attacked them in a frenzy. None of them could run fast enough, so they could only wait to be slaughtered. The evil spirit puppet quickly blocked in front of Deacon Shu Ji and swung its fist toward him. Esteemed guest, I promise I won't tell anyone that you are with the human race. Deacon Shu Ji did beg for mercy, but what awaited him was a cold fist. The evil spirit puppet couldn't speak at all. Previously, it was Yi Qianyun who had used his voice. Right now, the evil spirit race only gave the order to exterminate the surrounding evil spirit race members. How could it speak? It basically killed one with a single punch, and all of them died like dogs. Under the joint attack of the human and the puppet, 80 to 90 evil spirit race members were easily eliminated, and they obtained a huge pile of experience points and materials. The densely packed pile of decent materials was enough for the evil spirit puppet to improve by a large margin. Not bad, not bad. The harvest is bountiful, but it's still not enough. Yi Qianyun looked at the evil moon city in the distance and focused his eyes. The materials were still too little, and he needed more materials to upgrade it. He wanted the evil spirit puppet to reach the peak stage of the Earth Monarch realm or the Lord of Heaven in one go. Only then would it be more valuable. It's about time to start. Most of the Earth Monarchs have been eliminated, and the rest are just some low-tier trash. Yi Qianyun's eyes turned cold. The cleanup operation was about to begin.